Okay, hi everyone. Come on in. Thanks for coming tonight. In case there's anyone who's here for the first time, you'll catch on pretty quickly how we interact with Bashar here. But just to remind everyone, when it comes time to ask questions, if you do have a question, just wait until April holds up. Wait until the remote mic is passed to you, so that we can get your question clearly on the tape, and just proceed from there.
I'm here again for the first time.
You're here again for the first time. So anyway, thanks again for coming. Have fun, and we'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.
Schlafen Sie gut. Sleep well.
Thank you.
You should hear some of the other ones.
Sounds like something else completely different. No. I want to say good day to you. This is Dave here time. How are you all? Once again, we take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for allowing this transmission to occur in this manner through this particular gateway at this time. Each and every time you allow this connection and this transmission to occur, it affords our civilization an opportunity to experience through you another face, another facet of the multidimensional crystal of the infinite. And we thank you for this gift of sharing. We would like to begin this transmission this day of your time by labeling it Association Business Part 1. This day of your time, we would like to present you with an understanding of a bit of association business, that is, association of worlds, that collective, that grouping, that comprises many different civilizations of which we are a part, and of which your world will someday be a part in the relatively near future. But it is time, right now, for you to participate a little bit more in association business, particularly because this bit of business has to do with you and your planet. Let us explain. Some time ago, in your terms of time, in discussions about exactly how and even whether or not to contact your planet in this manner, when we recognized that it might be time for this kind of contact, there was much discussion among different member worlds about whether such contact would be beneficial to you, would be effective. Well, there were many ideas that were discussed as to whether or not such communication should be begun. There was one civilization in particular who did not believe that contact with your world would be timely, would really have any effect. Now, these beings, we will simply refer to them for now as the neutrals. In a sense, they were neutral on the subject, in a sense abstaining from what you would call a vote. But the idea is that it is not that they were in any way, shape, or form uncompassionate. They are a very compassionate race. They simply felt that the information that we have shared with you over these past 15 of your years would not really make much of a difference due to the nature of humanity as they perceived it. Therefore, now the time has come for a type of reassessment. We have communicated with them, and we have in some ways asked them to reassess their previous decision, to see whether or not they now believe that they can co-participate in the contact between the association and your world, to see whether they believe that such contact is merited at this time. We are therefore letting you know that there will now come an opportunity for communication, not in this transmission, but in the next one. Communication with one representative member of that civilization, of the neutrals. They have agreed to allow us to facilitate a communication to your world so that you can speak directly with them, and they will have comments and questions they will want to investigate in this communication with you, whether or not they deem it is timely and appropriate for them to participate in adding their communication, their energy, their time, their focus into dialogues with your people. This is, in many ways, important, though we would not want you to think that their decision, one way or another, should add or subtract from your own sense of self, your own sense of worth, or any such notion. This is not about judgment, neither from them upon you, nor upon yourselves, by yourselves. It is simply about an opportunity to add to the overall energy, more awareness, to open up new pathways, new lines of communication with yet another civilization within the association. But we wanted to give you what you would call a week's warning that this is coming about, so that you can prepare yourselves to engage in a dialogue with a being from this civilization we call the neutrals, so that you can understand that you will perhaps in those dialogues, in that conversation, be even more of a representative of your planet than usual, for you will really have to answer questions, if you wish, that directly address their concerns as to whether or not your people really are absorbing the information, whether it is really making a difference or not. And they will then make their own assessment as to whether they believe it has made a difference, and will decide from that conversation whether or not to continue to abstain, to continue to remain neutral, or to become more participatory in the energies that we engage you in with regard to these communications between your world and the association as they have been taking place. So, you follow along. Therefore, in that we have convinced this representative of the neutrals to dialogue with you, you may, in your own terms, expect this dialogue to occur in the next transmission in this area on your planet, general area, in your next week's time frame. And thus then, we will call that transmission Association Business Part 2. Now, once again, that we have laid down the foundation for this so that you may prepare in your minds over the next week for this encounter and for this dialogue, we will simply now move on to our usual business of exchange, and we will ask now, in what way may our civilization be of service to you this day? You, and then you. Number two, do you know who you are? All right, number one, good day.
Good day. I was listening to an old tape, and you mentioned about in the future we would be able to entrain pine trees or something so they would make more oxygen.
Yes.
Is it something that a layperson could understand, or is it more like a scientific thing that would need to be done?
No, it is more the idea of communication. First, of listening to the communication of the intelligence of the pine tree, so that you can form a link, a bond, a relationship with that life form, and in forming an empathetic relationship, telepathic relationship, empathic relationship with that life form, you can then engage in an energy exchange and also in a dialogue that will allow both the human and the pine tree to work together to increase the ability of the tree to produce oxygen for your world. This is really more of a getting to know you kind of phenomenology. We are not saying that there is not the possibility of a scientific aspect to it, but it is not really necessary. For the idea really has more to do with providing an appropriate environment and atmosphere, so to speak, of energy in which the production of oxygen can be at its optimum because of the level of energy in the exchange and the level of energy in the consciousness of both the humans and the plant life on your planet. So, in many ways, the more you can learn to be in love, literally, in love with the pine trees, which are, in essence, colloquially speaking, the representatives of the plant kingdom between plants and humans, then by establishing that bond of love, there can be, with that energy, more oxygen production. Do you understand?
Yeah, and then they could tell their friends.
They automatically would, since they themselves are already linked in a way that perhaps humans do not understand, for they do not have the same kind of mind that humans do, but they have a connective matrix, a connective web, and they can communicate through that web to each other very efficiently. You follow me?
Yes, would older ones be better, or don't make any differentiation?
It does not matter so much, though you'll find there may be a little bit more benefit to at least establishing this kind of link with some of the more mature trees. However, simultaneously, in establishing this bond of love with the younger pine trees, they will then learn earlier on to function this way and function this way into maturity. But you may find at first that the more mature groves of pine trees will thus then be able to amplify their oxygen production more readily because they are at a stage at which they can understand the kind of empathic link and are at a stage at which they can step up this oxygen production because they have readily available to them in their mass more material to work with, more water, more mass, more height, a little bit more of a powerful antenna to change the etheric energy into physical energy, transforming it into oxygen. You follow me?
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right.
Another thing I wanted to ask you, if there's a quick answer. You said that in 97, I think that 97 was the outside of the guess was the Postal Service. Something would happen, and I personally didn't notice anything. Was that still in the making?
In many ways, though sometimes certain things change. But you will understand that now, in your language, you have recently invented a new word. That when individuals break down, when they are under undue stress, you now say that they have gone postal. You will recognize that what we are referring to then is the idea that this particular branch of your society is now become the very symbol of the idea of stress
Disgruntled.
and structural societal breakdown. Thus, while they are, on one hand, the very symbol of communication, they are actually also diametrically opposite the very symbol of the breakdown of communication. And thus, this is one of the major shifts that has occurred in that segment of your society, and one of the symbols of energy they now represent.
Okay, that was good. A couple more things. I heard on a tape, and I actually heard it a couple places, and I know it could be just one of those things where it's you choose whatever you want to believe about it.
Well, everything is one of those things.
But it was the idea that you could tell God or whatever to give somebody else grace and take it off of my account. It doesn't seem, the idea of...
Yes, it is not, in a sense, a literal thing, but it is a gesture of giving. It is a gesture of opening up in absolute and unconditional love, knowing, as many of you have heard and realized, that the more love you give, the more you have to give. And so in that sense, you never really lose it. So the idea of opening up and asking for grace and love for someone else from your account to be transferred from your account to their account is simply another way of surrendering into the flow of the infinite and unconditional energy and love available to each and every one of you, knowing that the more you give to them from yourself, the more you will be given to from the infinite, which is infinite, and thus inexhaustible.
Oh, I like that much better.
You understand?
Yeah, the last thing...
Yes. This is also, before you continue, a reminder for you in the future, when faced with this kind of phrasing, to always remember these fundamental truths, that energy is infinite and inexhaustible, and not to become too caught up in the way that your people normally use those words and terminologies, thinking that just because it sounds like it represents a loss, that it actually is.
Ooh, that's really good.
You follow me?
Yeah, that's
right.
very well put.
Thank you.
The last thing was, before I'd asked you if there was something that my hybrid children and we could share, and you had said music, that when I was playing my favorite music.
Yes.
And since I hardly ever listen to music, and then I decided to come up with my own.
Yes.
That when I'm playing with my dog, could that be a good thing, or is there something else that they...
It can be.
Or
There is another thing we can suggest.
Okay.
Since they are sensorially, empathically connected to you, one of the things that they enjoy is the emotional sensation that you have when you bite into sweet and juicy fruit. Therefore, the more that you enjoy such things as your oranges and such, they will find that while it may not literally be a physical sensation, though to some it might seem so, they will be empathically and telepathically capable of actually feeling the sensation of your enjoyment and your invigoration at ingesting such items.
I've been on sort of a sprout kick of sunflower sprouts, and they're very sweet and juicy,
Yes.
and they're green. I've been
right.
eating my yellow and green.
This is good in that sense.
That work as good as fruit?
It can. From time to time, you may find that they will request, though it is up to you, the fruit as well. But yes, the things that are green also are very beneficial and will, in some senses, be something they can actually relate to even more strongly.
Actually, I did have a little bout with blood oranges that, were new to me, so it was very exotic, and I was having a very good. Thank you.
Number 2.
Two.
And to you. Our love to you as well.
Good day, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Had several things I wanted to try and touch on tonight. First, I was wondering if you could tell us where your approximate physical location is now.
Do you mean the elevation?
Right, and if anything has changed.
About 25 in that sense. 2,500 miles.
Okay.
Still above your Cairo.
Has anything changed, or will anything change next week to facilitate that other communication as far as the elevation?
Things are always affecting the representative elevation based on the fluctuations going on your planet in a variety of areas. What is mostly affecting the idea right now is the discussion and dissemination, or lack thereof, of the information concerning the artifacts on your Martian planet.
Okay.
Because there is a direct connection between the idea of that site on your Mars and that site you call Cairo. Again, especially in that the word Cairo means Mars and is actually energetically connected to that site. The things that are now being discussed and explored have a lot to do with the representative elevation of our spacecraft.
Dr. Stephen Greer was on Art Bell on Thursday night, and basically he was saying that they have a lot of witnesses, an incredible number of former military people ready to testify about the cover-ups that have been going on, and also that the government, probably not just the United States government, but probably several of the world governments, want to militarize space to keep this information from becoming public.
There are just as many, in fact, actually more governments on your planet that are desirous of releasing the information that they have based on their knowledge of our spacecraft. But there are a few larger, what you call, powers that are holding them in check. But they are close to not listening anymore.
Okay, that would be nice. Now, what about...
You will find, most likely, within your next 3 years, at the outside, that there will be, in your terms, a major break and release in this information from a variety of countries around your planet. And once that begins, there will be a cascade effect.
Great. Then, as far as that goes, he was also stating that the U.S. government has been very recently trying to create a war situation with extraterrestrials in terms of shooting them down and killing them when they're on the ground.
This has happened from time to time.
Recently.
This has happened from time to time.
Okay. Now, is there any way that we can get them, or like next week, communicate to these beings that this is not the will of the majority of our population?
That is already understood.
Okay. And
but as long as the individuals in your society allow the idea of the structure you have imposed upon yourselves that you call government to remain in the form that it is, they will always, in a sense, be correct in assuming that, on one level, you do wish that structure to remain in place, and that structure is representative of the overall wishes of your people, because you are not yet allowing yourself to change that structure in a way that will allow for more open communication.
That's only because we allow them to use fear as a control mechanism.
But you are the ones allowing it. Therefore, you are in control. And when you exercise more of that control, it will change. But until then, it can only be assumed by observation that you wish their utilization of fear as a control mechanism to remain in place.
Okay. And was there any significance that you can share with us as far as the earthquake today?
Again, there are always shifts, and these are always in general, at least, representative of shifts in the collective consciousness. That they are relatively small, delicate shifts is an indication that you have the capability of making a great shift by taking relatively small steps that allow you to step up to the next level without massive damage.
Okay. And lastly, on a personal note, I had gotten a bird cage out of my storage unit in Sacramento, and when I was driving back to L.A., I sensed the bird that I had lost, Paco. I sensed him actually in the car with me.
Yes.
And I was, especially when I turned down the radio, and then it would be almost like I could feel him on my shoulder and constantly sensing the presence of him there.
Yes.
Was this something that I was imagining, or was there something actually going on besides anything that I might have been?
Actually.
Right.
That is your answer. Actually.
Can you give me any more on
What is there to say? You understand that it is possible for all of you to contact etheric life, astral life, and that animals are no less available in that sense than humans in spirit, and thus when you create a focus upon them, especially if you have an object that represents their vibration, it is quite likely that they will be in proximity to you in spirit form. Therefore, you sensed the possibility and the probability of this, and what we have to say to you is that this is so.
Can you do me one favor? And not ask me to do it myself, because I wouldn't trust my accuracy. Can you kind of tap into this and see what Paco's feeling would be on cleaning out that cage that hasn't been cleaned since he flew away, and giving it to the bird that I have now?
Here is, as you say, Paco's feeling. Birds do not belong in cages. The idea is to create a bond of trust wherein any so-called cage or perimeter that you wish the bird to remain in, the bird will choose to remain in through the bond of love.
I have never locked the birds in the cage. They have a cage as a home, but the door is always open.
All right. Then again, the idea is to, again, still go beyond even the concept of the cage. You can allow all the accoutrements that they require to be there, but it does not necessarily have to be represented by the structure physically. If they tell you telepathically that they enjoy the idea of being at certain times, perhaps that you would call sleep time, in a sheltered structure where they can be, in a sense, covered, that is different. But primarily, this is an opportunity to learn minimalism with regard to structure, so that the animal that represents freedom of flight can truly be free and have no barriers imposed or even suggested upon their form. There can be perches, there can be bases, but it would be perhaps an interesting experiment now to see if you can do away with the actual cage structure. Unless, again, it is something that they wish for their sleep cycle.
It seems to be, he always sleeps on the outside.
Well,
but
then,
he seems to enjoy going into the cage.
All right. If it is a matter of enjoyment and there is freedom to come and go, that is all well and good. And you can use the cage that way again if you wish. But the strongest part of the message is still, see if you can create a new level of bond that perhaps does not even require the utilization of that cage.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you.
You, and then you. Number 2, do you know who you are?
Yes.
All right. Number 1, good day.
Hi, Bashar. The last time we spoke, you told me about giving my cat raw meat and raw vegetables, which
Nice.
I started doing the next day.
Nice.
And she's so much better.
Nice.
4 of the 5 cats are gobbling it now.
Nice.
And what I'd like to ask your input now is on a choice that I made for my cat RJ, who on March 11th I had surgery on his nose done.
For what purpose?
Well, basically his nose was removed because he had he had a lesion the year before, which we took off, and they said it was cancer. And then all of a sudden his nose got all blown up and bloody and irritated looking, and all that. So, and I
Yes.
thought it was the right thing to have it taken off.
All right. And so?
And so now,
Yes.
since I've found out that, the raw meat is so great and has turned around what looked like a death sentence for
Yes.
Fuzzy,
Yes.
well, was that really what was going on with RJ also?
To some degree, but do not feel guilty about it. It is now an opportunity for you to simply learn and to do something different now than you did before.
Right.
You are given this opportunity to have a different understanding and to allow this to be taken care of in a more natural way.
Yeah.
So do not have the idea of beratement or regret or judgment upon the self for what you, quote unquote, should have done. That was then, this is now. Stay in the present. And understand that you have been given an opportunity by these animals to learn to handle this kind of thing in a different way.
Right.
You have been given an opportunity, as you say in your language, to follow your nose.
And just one last thing. How can I coax my dog and my one last young cat into eating the raw meat and vegetables? They just won't have anything to do with it.
Well, again, you can engage a dialogue with them. It is possible that different animals may require slightly different things, but also you can, in what you might call a very pragmatic way, simply not feed them until they are hungry enough to eat whatever you give them.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Thank
It doesn't have to be mysterious.
Thank you.
But again, explore the idea that sometimes different animals may require slightly different things in their diet, and their refusal to eat it can be a sign of either that they are simply used to something else and that this simply appears foreign to them, and therefore they are simply out of that or not in the habit of eating that, or it could be an indication to explore a little more thoroughly that there might need to be other nutrients added to the food that they require, so that until you put them in, they will not eat it. But again, you can still, nevertheless, start them on the regimen by simply withholding the food until you know they are hungry enough to eat whatever you give them.
Okay.
You do not have to do this for very long, I guarantee it.
Thank you.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Number 2.
Hi, Bashar.
And a good day.
Good day. This is the second time in 2 days I've heard about the raw food, and
Yes.
boy, I've struggled with feeding our 4 cats that before, and it's so hard to get them to eat it.
Again, you may be able to find a combination of things that will help them, allow them to understand how to partake of this. You may have to experiment a little bit, but as a general foundation, that kind of approach is in general healthiest for most animals. In what way have you been struggling?
Well, I had a really good source that would ship out by Federal Express some nice meat with all the nutrients in it that cats needed. And then they stopped having 2-day delivery, so when it got to us, it was all thawed, and so it was tainted, so we couldn't use it. So
Is there nothing that you can allow yourself to access within your own city?
yeah, I could make it myself, but whenever I do, they don't like it, and I withhold food for like 4 or 5 days.
This is not what we are saying to you. There are sources in what you call certain natural pet stores that make these concoctions ready-made and available and frozen that you can access and bring to your freezer so that there is no danger of thaw.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes. Yeah.
Instead of having it mailed.
Sure. Okay, I'll try that.
Well, yes, that would seem to be practical.
Okay. Okay. I've tried it. They don't like it, but I'll try it again.
Which, in your terms, brand are you accessing?
Pat McKay.
Yes. What is your feeding schedule?
Feed in the morning and in the evening. But our one cat, who's 15, Tyrone, he wants to eat like every 2 hours these days.
You may allow more aged animals to have smaller, very much smaller portions throughout the day, as long as you do not allow the animal to eat too much. You can allow the animal to eat a little bit more often, but in much smaller, bite-sized, maybe 2 or 3 bite portions to satisfy that particular craving.
Okay.
For what period of time do you allow the food to remain available to the animals in the morning and in the evening?
Oh.
When you put the food down for them, how long does it stay there?
Well, if it's canned, it stays there until it's gone. But if it's raw, it only stays there about half an hour or 40
Yes.
minutes.
All right. Again, you may find that you can sometimes, in order to switch the animals to the new regimen, do the same process that we have suggested. See what happens when you skip a day, maybe even 2 days. Let them tell you when they are hungry. Then feed them that on their schedule.
Okay.
Again, you can understand that animals such as your cats will do very well not eating for a day or two. They are designed to go as carnivores
Yes.
for longer periods of time without eating.
Yeah.
And therefore, you do not have to cater in that way to them. Do you understand? Since your species has taken upon itself to domesticate these animals, you will find that many of the supposed difficulties you have in scheduling what or when they eat will have to do with the artificially imposed schedules that you do, in fact, create for them as domesticated animals.
Yeah.
And therefore, it may simply take a very specific kind of focus in order to help shift them into a new understanding and a new schedule. Do you follow?
Yeah. Now, is it dangerous to work with raw meat being pregnant? I hear all these cautions about handling raw meat.
There is no reason why the meat should come in contact with your person.
Right.
In fact, it should not.
Okay.
You can use utensils.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yeah, I got it. Okay.
Does that help you?
It helps a lot. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Another thing.
One moment. You are next.
I've been working with letting go, like we talked before.
Do you mean surrendering?
Surrendering.
All right.
And believing strongly that I can feel vibrant and well and
No.
No.
Surrendering is above and beyond belief.
Oh.
Do not mix belief with surrender. Surrender is the total letting go in trust and faith that when you surrender your personality structure, which is where belief systems are contained, when you completely surrender the container of all your beliefs, there are, for that moment, no more beliefs. You do not work with beliefs when you surrender. You just let go of all of that, knowing, not believing, knowing that by surrendering, you are being your true self, and that your true self is unlimited possibilities. Surrendering is to your benefit specifically because you no longer have to think about what to believe. You simply have to know that you are already composed of all of the ideas, all of the possibilities that you need to be composed of, that you can then allow your reality to reflect back to you. This is an immediate mechanism. It is not a process. Do you understand? Belief involves process. This is an immediate creation event mechanism where you are simply being what you were created to be, unlimited possibilities, that is, and letting reality, the mirror of reality, of physical reality, show you what you are through its synchronous manifestations of what you are willing to know you are. It's not about working with beliefs on that level.
Okay.
So let that idea go. Otherwise, you are mixing things that will work, in a sense, against you.
Is that why I'm still so nauseous?
In some senses, yes. You are fighting against ideas that you do not need to even hold on to. You follow?
I think so.
Surrender is an act of total being, of total faith, total acceptance of yourself, instead of the idea of having to work through the belief processes, which still on that level implies that somehow you do not quite trust that if you surrender, you will still be in control. You follow?
Yeah.
You are still trying to be in control by bringing your beliefs into the act of surrendering. And that is, as you say, contradictory,
Yeah.
countermanding, contraindicated.
Right.
You follow?
Yeah.
Does this help explain it more clearly?
I think so.
Are you
I
willing
think
to do it is the question.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, and we'll see. Does this help you?
It helps. Can I ask one more thing?
Hey, guys.
I'm wondering about the relationship between my hybrid children and the new baby. Do they see each other and relate with each other at all?
Yes, especially because at this time, what you call your new baby is still mostly in the etheric and astral realms, which the hybrids have immediate access to because of their frequency of existence.
Okay. Is that why I don't really feel a strong bond yet, sort of consciously?
No, that is not why.
Why?
What kind of bond do you feel you should have?
I think I should have a stronger bond than I do, but I think on other levels I do have a stronger bond than I realize.
I see.
But
You think?
No, I know that.
Ah, thank you.
I know that I do.
Thank you.
On other levels.
This is another opportunity for you to stretch and fall into the bond that is there in terms of your knowingness and your feeling rather than thinking your way. In a sense, the child is urging you to feel the bond that is there, knowing that it's going to be something you will not feel if you use your thinking aspect to try and feel it. You just have to
That's
use
for
your heart.
sure. Uh-huh.
You understand?
Yep.
You understand that you have made an agreement with this being from your heart.
Yes.
Then use your heart to understand your agreement and your bond with this being. Not use your
Mind.
thinkingness.
Right.
All right?
Great. Thank you,
Thank you.
Bashar.
Number 3.
Hello, Bashar.
And you good day?
How are you doing?
Perfect, and you?
Pretty good.
All right, pretty good.
That means I'm cooking things up.
Cooking, all right.
Yeah. Okay.
We are having a culinary
I'm
conversation.
excited. All right. What conversation?
A culinary conversation.
Yeah, it seems like that. I'm going to try this mix on my sister's kitty, Misty.
All right.
She can't seem to keep anything down.
Yes. You may wish to make sure that there is, from time to time, in the raw food, then, the substance known as purizone, or also a small bit of liquid aloe. This will sometimes help the animal keep the food down.
Aloe vera juice.
Yes.
Yeah, Doctor. Yeah. Okay.
Little bit, not too much.
Okay. Thank you. A sort of question, comment on this ambassador that is coming next week. Is it physical or non-physical?
They are of a high energy physical reality, very high frequency, semi-physical, non-physical reality.
How tall are they?
This, in a sense, is an irrelevant question.
Okay.
Though
I know it
you
is.
may find that because of the nature of their energy,
Yeah.
you would probably, in your reality grid, perceive them as anywhere from between 6 to 8 of your feet in height. Though this is not a literal extrapolation of their form.
This isn't the magistrate consciousness, is it?
No.
Okay.
We are referring to them only as the neutrals, because at this time it is inappropriate for any other name to be assigned to them.
How high is humor on their priority list?
Very high.
Good. Okay. Is there a high sign in their language that we can give them? Seriously? Humorously? You know, the little rascals have...
It will come down mostly to the nature of the energy, the degree of integrity within the exchange that you will have with them, rather than any specific sign and or word.
Okay. Now, I want to ask you...
They have a tendency, from their perspective, to look at the overall exchange and interaction, rather than focusing on a specific element of it. And this is why they have now agreed to engage in an overall dialogue that will give them the best sense of their perspective and their relationship to your civilization from that point forward.
Is there reticence?
They are not reticent.
They're a metaphor for a part of our consciousness.
Of course.
Well, what's the word for it? I'd rather ask you this than seem to challenge the ambassador directly, but there's a hesitation in our consciousness that's
very good.
It's not working to be
Very
that
good.
way.
Very good.
And
they do, in some senses, represent the hesitation to fully be yourself. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Now I want to ask a question. This is not a horse question. But I've been watching racehorses on TV. And I've been tuning into the dialogue that they have with each other when they're racing. And I'm not exactly sure that I think they have an agreement about who's going to win according to who feels the best that day.
Absolutely.
And like they may change their minds because they're being generous.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
It is very in the moment. Up until a certain point.
It doesn't have so much to do with the jockey whipping them or urging them
No,
on.
not really. In fact, sometimes that is exactly what will make a horse decide to be last.
Okay. All right. Well,
it depends on many factors in much the same way that it depends on many factors when many of you in a group make a decision one way or another based on the different factors therein.
Okay. I'm having a meeting next Tuesday with a man who invested a considerable amount of energy into Dr. Pappas's device, and he's ready to listen to me about getting a device for the horses. And I think that, just for fun, as we start out, we can all make our time and money back.
All right, if you wish. This is outside of my purview.
I know. It's already been proven in South Africa. Then I want to get this out of the way. I thought that my medical lawsuit was dead, and in fact it was. But when my third attorney appeared in court to get his payment from the state, he brought up the issue that my 132A, which is being fired for filing an injury report, hadn't been heard. So, I don't know, it's resurrected like Lazarus. And I'm going to, I know, I thought you were wrong about something. And sure enough, okay. I apologize. Anyway, so I'm going to court May 19th, and my issue is that my manager, who was away at the time of my injuries, was one of my dearest friends and still is.
All right.
And had said that he would testify on my behalf.
All right.
And I could call him to meet with him down at the Harbor House before the trial.
All right. Perhaps he will even testify on your behalf.
So I don't want to have to worry about him. I mean, I did
see
him, and everybody was blown away. We were like, Tom, Molly, how are you doing?
Then do not worry if you do not want to worry.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Do you have anything to add on that? Because
I already did.
Well,
perhaps he will testify on your behalf.
I mean, there's a part of me that has a bad attitude about this at this point.
Then you're not paying attention to what I just said.
What?
Perhaps he will testify on your behalf. But if you are focusing on the parts of yourself, then he can only testify on your behalf.
My behalf. You mean I'm going to be okay when I go in there?
Yes, it means the sooner you know you are okay, the sooner that can be reflected in what anyone else does to help you.
Okay, and then I wanted to ask you one more thing.
Yes?
Is there, my horse says hello, and he wants you to know that he's enjoying all the energy at Pooh Corner.
All right,
and there was something else he didn't say, but I think it was that for now, being in the state of gratitude is what is energizing him. And that's
state of grace.
Yes, that's the last thing you said last time.
Yes.
And when I bring myself into that, it's far out. Then is there a Martian high sign?
No comment on that for now. Thank you. You.
Thank you.
You.
Good day, Bashar.
Good day.
It's been a while.
All right, if you insist.
I don't insist. Well, I'm sure you remember when you told me a couple of years ago, warning, warning, warning.
That you would have an accident if you did not steer your course differently.
Yes, that
Yes.
I'd become disabled, and it happened.
And, all right,
And,
congratulations.
I know, it was the most amazing thing in the universe.
Yes, well, you're all very clever, and if you will not read the signs beforehand, you will give yourself, in no uncertain terms, the message delivered in a way you cannot ignore, eventually.
It was awesome.
Yes.
It just all fell into place.
Yes.
Everything, the money and everything.
Yes.
It's like a vacation, and
Yes.
all the things that I've desired
Yes.
are happening.
Thank you.
Because I was in the moment.
Yes.
Um,
That is sometimes what many of you use accidents for, to bring you into the moment, because you have up to that moment stubbornly refused to be in the moment. The accident is your way of releasing yourselves, sometimes, so that you have, well, dare I say it, an excuse to live in the moment, as if you needed one.
You got it.
But because your society is structured the way it has been, many times you believe that you must have an excuse to be in the moment. Otherwise, you will be seen as gold bricking. Well, now I have to stay in the moment. I have to relax because I had an accident. So now I have an excuse to relax. I have an excuse to do the things I want to do. I have an excuse to ponder the things I want to ponder. Now I will not be seen as lazy or avoiding this or avoiding that. Now I will not be seen as not fitting in. Now I have an excuse.
Yeah, that's been a real interesting experience.
Yes.
And I'm still, thank you for bringing that up, because
You are welcome.
I'm still getting it.
Yes, I know.
I'm thinking of investing or dealing with a whole lot of money and putting it into different places. I'm trying to, decide what I'm going to do with it.
Oh, all right.
And,
are you having a good time in
oh,
that process?
Yes, absolutely.
Then
I
remember
am.
that is what is important.
Yes, I got that.
Thank you.
But what I wanted to ask you is,
Yes.
I don't feel good about the banking system.
I am not your stockbroker. I am not your financial advisor.
Okay, well, I'm not asking you that. I'm just saying, from your viewpoint, what can you see the future of?
I am not your financial advisor.
Okay, you won't tell me about the banking system.
I
It's
am
gonna
not your
crash.
financial advisor.
Okay, because they don't know. What you
I
know.
am not your financial advisor. Subject.
Okay, let's see if I have one. Oh, I don't have one.
The only thing we have to say about what you call your money system is whether you have learned to bank on yourself or not. That is what will allow you to know what to do, when to do it. For any other expression of the idea of worth and abundance, bank on yourself, and you will know what to do.
Okay, thanks a lot.
You. And then darn. You are number 2.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
A lot of the topics this evening kind of have already touched me in what I want to talk to you about.
Thank you for your synchronicity.
Yes, especially the agreement of the heart and
Yes.
and surrender.
Yes.
This is a subject that you and I talked about some time ago, and
All right.
2 years ago, you and I talked about my greatest excitement, which is having a family and having a child. And at that time, you said in a year from then, I would be clear
Yes.
about it. And I feel like it's now been about 2 years.
And you are not clear?
I am clear.
But?
What
Sounds
I-
like there's a but in your energy.
No, there's no but.
All right.
What I did see was that not only in the choice of having a child, there was also a more defined definition of also having a loving relationship that
Yes.
supports the child.
Yes.
And I created that.
All right.
Though I'm not, I will know today, tomorrow, whether or not this person reflects the entire intention of having a child, because I have made it clear
All right.
that that is my greatest
Yes.
excitement.
Yes.
But we've had some fascinating symbols that have attempted to have gotten our attention.
All right. May I remind you of something before you continue?
Sure, please.
Thank you. When you say having a child is your greatest excitement, please understand that what you actually mean is that being yourself is your greatest excitement.
Yes, absolutely.
The idea of the child representing one way of being yourself is a slightly different spin on the energy than actually saying that having a child is your greatest excitement.
Oh, absolutely. And I know that that is why the choice for me is to really honor myself
Yes.
right now.
And that makes a lot of difference in
Yes.
terms of how this plays out.
Absolutely,
All right.
absolutely. And I know that
All right. Thank you.
that is right now why the picture
Yes.
is changing.
All right. Very good. You are bringing it into focus then as you bring yourself into focus.
Yes.
All right.
And for the last couple months, we have had several attempts by birds to build a nest
Yes.
in our home. And finally, one has built this beautiful nest
Yes.
with 5 eggs.
All right.
And
The number of humanity.
yes,
All right.
yes. And Jeff was the one to actually see the metaphor
Yes.
of how interesting it is.
Yes.
That
it is reflective of what you may call your attempts, and then the reflection of the idea of what appears to be success.
yes.
All right?
Though he still has ambivalence that he is attempting to
I understand.
make a choice.
I understand. There is
And-
something here you're not quite yet getting, but I'm not going to say anything.
I know it's my choice, and I know that the reflection of whoever's in my presence has to reflect my choice.
Yes. And what we are to some degree saying is that it is up to you to decide to what degree and for what duration you will allow ambivalence in your life.
That the reflection of whoever's in my presence has to reflect my choice.
Yes. And what we are to some degree saying is that it is up to you to decide to what degree and for what duration you will allow ambivalence in your life to determine
Tomorrow.
who and what you are.
Tomorrow is
Yes, I understand that, but we are also talking about all the time that has passed that you have allowed ambivalence to be prevalent.
yes, and I have really had to look at that.
Yes, I know.
And as I said, I realized that the other aspect of it was building
Yes.
the
All right.
relationship, which is
All right.
an
Very
important.
good. You don't have to walk on eggshells with this.
Oh, well, I guess perhaps I have, but I think as I become more committed to myself,
You will break through your shell.
yes, through the
All right.
thank you.
Does this help?
Yes.
And?
one other thing that I would like to share with you.
Yes.
A couple weeks ago, I was in a process work seminar and doing a process of
That is logical.
yes, of experiencing the death state, and
Death.
yes,
All right.
and which was a very profound experience. And
Usually.
that evening, I had a dream that there was a technique that individuals had that I participated in, which allowed me to voluntarily undergo death,
Yes.
knowing that I would come back to life.
Yes.
And it felt like it was an ancient technique
Yes.
that I had experienced a long
Yes.
time ago.
Yes. So to speak.
And my concern was not staying dead too long, which was,
Not staying dead too long.
or being in the induced state of death.
Yes.
And I feel that that is somewhat what is also representation of my commitment to myself
Yes.
in feeling life.
Yes.
And-
Exactly so.
Is that what that dream was about for me?
Yes. For staying in a state of ambivalence too long can be like suspended animation and death.
Yes. And that's what many of my dreams have been.
Yes. Does that help you then?
Yes, it does.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now we move to darn.
Good day, Bashar.
Good day, darn.
Bashar, I wanted to know if you had any more information for me regarding the sightings. I feel like I'm seeing more now than I was before I talked to you. And
Nope.
Really, it seems like it.
Yes, well, I am not the one allowed to open the door. You must open the door before we can discuss it with you. I have much information,
Okay.
but I cannot initiate.
Well, what do I need to do to initiate it?
Well, as long as you continue to ask me such questions, I can't tell you.
What question should I ask you then? I mean, I can't.
I'll pose an idea to you.
Okay.
How did you know I had more to tell you? Whatever sense you used to tell you that I had more to tell you is the sense you need to use now, and you're not using. You need to trust yourself, and you need to initiate with the same sense that told you there was more to know. With the same certainty that that sense brought you. You need to open a door and pose an idea, open a discussion, open a dialogue, and not simply ask me questions. That much I am allowed to tell you. But no more than that until you yourself open a door.
Initiate a dialogue.
Yes, sir. Using the same certainty you just used when you said you absolutely sensed that you knew there was more to know. Use that same absoluteness and proceed with what you think should be the subject of discussion or the direction of the conversation.
All right. I don't feel the same as I did initially when I first saw them. I feel more relaxed and comfortable.
All right.
I don't try to avoid them now.
All
when
right.
I see them, and they don't seem to persist at me.
All right. And why do you think that might be?
I just believe that the situation has changed. My feelings about the situation has changed.
And thus the situation reflects it, yes?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
That was easy. Anything else?
Should I be doing, well, I'm trying to do trying isn't the right word, but I'm doing the things that you've asked me to do or suggested that I do.
All right. And are they working for you, or would your imagination like to change them?
My imagination would like to change.
Then go right ahead. Anything else?
Yes.
Guys?
You previously told me also that this would only persist
In certain ways, absolutely.
in certain ways.
Because it is absolutely connected with something you definitely want to be persistent, and that is the awakening of more of your spiritual awareness. And therefore, on that level and in that connection, it will persist. As long as you persist in wanting awakening and spiritual awareness and growth.
Okay. When I used to see, anyway, I believe that I used to see Sasani craft. And that now
Only from time to time, very,
right.
very rarely.
Okay. And that's what I was going to say next. Now I feel like I'm seeing them rarely when it felt as though I was seeing them more often in the past.
You must also remember that much of what you perceive is not in the physical.
Okay. Thank you for reminding me.
Nice. Does this help?
It does help, but I'm trying to diminish my distrust
Of?
and fear
Of?
toward the Zeta, and that's very difficult because
If you say so.
I mean,
Then the idea is not to work on diminishing your distrust, but to work on increasing the focus of what it is you do trust in, so that that will take precedence.
okay.
Because if you are focusing on the negative, that is where the energy will go.
Okay.
So if you focus on not doing something, you're only amplifying the negative loop. But if you focus on where it is you prefer your trust to be, then you will amplify the positive loop.
Okay. Bashar,
Yes?
okay, what you said to me is that they are there because they are meeting some need that I have
Yes?
of awakening.
Yes.
And
they
thus-
have their own agenda, but nevertheless, they are meeting your agenda as well.
Okay, that which was leading me to the fact that they do have their own agenda.
Of course, they are sentient beings unto themselves.
Okay.
Nevertheless, there are no accidents and interactions represent the agendas of all parties concerned.
Okay.
When you know that, you can then take charge of the portion of the contact that represents your agenda and allow yourself to guide it in the way that is appropriate for you and extract from it what it is appropriate for you to extract.
Okay. So they have they're playing some role in this spiritual awakening, which is not something that I associate with them. I associate them having their own agenda with little regard for anyone else. But I have already said
many times that it does not matter what anyone else's intention is. The energy you put into a situation determines the effect you get out of it. So what you bring to the table determines how you are capable of processing the energy of the interaction, regardless of whether their agenda matches your intention or not.
Okay.
So you don't have to focus on what their agenda might or might not be. All you have to focus on is what can you get out of what is happening? How can you process it and filter it in such a manner that it meets the criteria of the energy you prefer to apply in your reality and in your life? Is this making any sense to you?
Yes, it is, but it doesn't really seem to be getting to the point of...
Maybe you don't want it to. Maybe you like some of the edgy stuff.
Okay. Well.
You are, after all, an actor.
Okay, I understand.
And therefore you know that there are certain aspects of what you may call the dark side that you can actually use to channel in a positive way for positive reasons. Okay. Thus, you may not necessarily want to detach yourself completely from the edgier aspect of their consciousness because you feel there's a way for you to process and use it.
Okay, I will agree with that.
All right.
Okay, but it just...
Yes?
It would seem that... Is anyone else in here having any sightings? Is anyone else seeing crafts on a regular basis? Like
I am.
Not Bashar, that doesn't count. We discussed that once before.
Oh, all right.
No, nobody. Every night, every other night. No. Okay.
And neither are you.
Okay, that's fine. I'm not saying I am every night, but I think I'm seeing them very often.
And again, remember, there are a variety of things you are perceiving.
Okay.
Some things are physical, some things are etheric, some things are simply reality projections from your own consciousness because of what you are processing. It doesn't always necessarily matter which one it is. What really ultimately matters is not so much the label, but what it is you choose to get out of the reflection you are co-creating. Yes?
You told me once before that the reason that one of the reasons that I am able to see them is because I am able to, that I'm experiencing things like what you just said.
Yes.
Sometimes I'm seeing another dimension or
yes.
This type of thing.
Sometimes, yes.
Sometimes.
Yes.
But
and sometimes you are simply creating the symbol for yourself because it is a symbol that will lure you into more understanding of who you are, whether they have actually been present or not at that moment.
I see.
Yes, I see.
Okay. It just seems like there's a lot more going on
than
just this. And
there is.
That seems so simple based on what is really going on.
And what I am attempting to get across to you is it would probably serve you better if you remain focused on the simplicity rather than getting caught up in the complexity.
Okay.
All right?
I didn't feel like I made a lot of progress with that, Bashar. But
then stop judging yourself, and you will be all right with wherever it is you happen to be. Okay. That's the first step toward making more progress.
Okay.
You understand?
Yes, I believe that I do, and I'd like to ask you another question unrelated to this topic. I've entered into...
One moment.
Okay.
You are next, number 2? No. No, you are number 3. You. And 4. Yes?
I've entered into a business venture with someone, and I feel comfortable with it. I think it could resolve a lot of issues and matters that I've been concerned with.
If you say so.
Okay, and I wanted to know if you had any suggestions
Nope.
regarding that.
None whatsoever.
Okay. Thanks, Bashar.
Thank you. Number 2.
Hi, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Let me ask you about this spokesperson next week for the association.
Yes.
Are they going to be asking us questions, or
they may? You can ask them questions as well.
Okay, I didn't know if that was going to be...
All we have done is laid the foundation for the reason for the contact, to let you know a little bit about them and what it is you will be dealing with. Right. You don't have to come from a place of having to convince them. In fact, if you do that, it will be unlikely that you will convince them.
Oh,
just be yourselves, but understand that in their own way they are making an assessment as to whether to become participants in these kinds of dialogue.
Right.
They simply, at this point, without judgment, simply do not perceive a great deal of change with regard to the information you have already been given in your society.
Okay.
But you may dialogue with them however you wish to dialogue with them. They will, of course, exhibit a personality structure very different from my own, and you may have to get used to that. But nevertheless, that should not stop you from simply either asking a question or answering one, should you feel free to do so. That is a very interesting statement, and it will be very interesting to see how that might factor in to what it is they think about your planet if you want to bring it up in their dialogue. Well, it depends on what you mean by that. If you mean you have to behave like yourselves, you are closer to the point. Number 2, continue.
Okay. When the hybrid come on Earth, how many are there going to be about?
This is not yet determined.
Oh, it isn't?
No.
Okay.
It is not like they are picking numbers out of a hat.
Well, I didn't know how many there are of them.
There are hundreds of thousands.
Hundreds of thousands.
Yes. And eventually, there will be hundreds of thousands, but upon what you might refer to as relatively first contact, it is yet as undetermined, though obviously the number would be far fewer than that.
Right. Okay. And there'll be children and adults?
Yes.
Okay. Are there adult hybrids here now in our physical form? Like a hybrid, like...
Only from very rare time to time. Nothing permanent at all.
Okay.
Not yet.
All right. I'm going to talk about...
Not the ones you are referring to. There are, in a sense, humans, so to speak, that certainly exhibit a high degree of hybridization in their genetic structure. If you want to refer to them as hybrids, you may, but they would be Earth hybrids, not the ones we generally mean when we talk about the hybrid children who are on the spacecrafts now.
Ah, okay.
You understand?
Yes. I also wanted to talk about this brown stone.
That's brown stone.
Yeah.
I assume you are not referring to a housing project?
No, my great brown stone.
Great brown stone.
Yeah.
All right, yes.
My beautiful stones.
Yes.
You had told me recently about the disintegration that I'd learn how to refine it.
Yes.
And that they were giving me an opportunity to understand something about the idea of frequency shift.
Yes.
And how it affects my reality.
Yes.
A couple of weeks ago when you were talking to Patricia about the crop circle and about resonance frequency.
Yes.
That really sort of resonated with me. And you had
so how appropriate.
Yes. And you had said that the singularity resonance identification is the same principle used in your spacecraft. Everything is one thing.
Yes.
When I'm feeling, I don't know exactly what it is, but I'm sort of feeling a connection with that when I was listening to it today with the frequency shift, and you told me to fine-tune my bandwidth and broaden it but fine-tune it simultaneous.
Yes.
And the idea of the frequency shift with this brown stone and that's tied in somehow.
What we mean by broaden it and fine-tune it simultaneously is analogous, again, to the way our spacecraft shift from one reality dimension to another. In that, in collapsing vibrationally into the absolute here and now moment of eternity and infinity, we are at one and the same time narrowing down to a singularity, a single moment in space-time, but because that one moment is everything everywhere, every when, you are simultaneously infinitely broadening the bandwidth because you're tapping into and becoming everything. Then it's a matter of focus to decide, again, which aspect or portion of all that is you will then resonantly identify with, and in attaching your frequency to that and then broadening back into the space-time continuum, the spacecraft or whatever other object has been so identified or so affected will then stop existing at the previous location and take up instantaneous existence at the secondary space-time reference point. Do you follow me?
Yes.
This is what we mean by that idea.
All right, so I'm tying that into the frequency shift and about the disintegration with the brown stone. Is that a similar
idea? Is that it will become more stable when its frequency is more clearly identified with that singularity moment that connects it to everything, which then would mean that by being connected to everything, it would become infinitely stable, and at the same time, infinitely flexible and fluid to move around within the infinity of everywhere and every when. Thus, it will be resonantly balanced between the all and the one.
And then therefore,
yes,
it could be shipped out of the country and not disintegrate.
Yes.
And that would be something that I would do in refining
yes.
it?
By refining your own vibration and allowing it to pick up on your vibration and represent that balance within yourself, it will then maintain its own cohesiveness because it will literally be an extension of you, because you will know that the idea of, quote-unquote, taking something out of the country, out of your immediate space, will actually not be taking it out of your space. Because you will be everywhere in that essential sense, and you will allow it its own identity simultaneously, and you yours simultaneously. The idea of being discrete and distinct will be synonymous with being the one and everywhere. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
In a very simplistic way, when you broaden your own horizons vibrationally, then there will be nowhere that the stone can be that will be outside or beyond your borders of energy and consciousness.
And
for as long as you see it as going beyond those borders, that is what allows the vibration to be destructive. For it's as if it has gone beyond your reality and must disintegrate because nothing is supporting it. You understand?
Yeah. Okay.
Are you sure?
I'm understanding what you're saying.
All right.
Don't know if I'm understanding how
Many times all it takes is learning to simply relate to it in the way that we are describing, and the more that you can actually feel that there is no such thing as these things being removed from your sphere of influence, then by just simply knowing that, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that can be enough to establish the resonance identification. You follow?
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. It doesn't always require any more mysterious process than simply understanding and feeling what it is we are now describing to you.
Okay. Because you said that the kind of focus it requires to remain cohesive through different reality shifts, you said you're dealing now with pure formative consciousness.
Yes.
So that's just what you just said.
Yes.
Okay.
We simply expanded the definition for you into language that might make more sense.
Right. And I'm also the great experiment, and I did partake in it along with a lot of other people.
Guys?
They had said that they're putting information together that they'll know in the next couple of weeks as to what, extent or that it had.
Guys?
You had said that the percentage of this before, when he had James Twyman had done it, went from 97 to 78%.
Yes.
I would take it that we probably went a lot further than that this time. Did we lower it with everything that when we
It is
partook?
still hovering around 78%.
It is.
The 78% we gave you
Yeah.
was the figure representative of all of the culmination of this particular event.
Oh, I gotcha.
You understand?
Sure. Right after...
For those that might be confused about that nomenclature, the idea is that from 98% certainty that a negative outcome would be the result of the collective consciousness, now down to only a 78% chance that the outcome would be negative. That is what is meant by these figures.
Right, yeah, it's fabulous. That next morning, I experienced, and it felt like you were there. There were two males, and it was like, if it wasn't you, it felt like you introducing me to one that calls himself teacher. And this teacher has been working...
This is your psychic sensing in your own terminology of the meeting that is coming up next week.
Oh.
Where we are introducing this being one of the neutrals. It feels like a teacher, but it is not really appropriate for you to call it by that name. Simply, you may refer to it as a neutral.
As a neutral?
Yes.
Oh, okay, because it was introduced as a teacher.
In your interpretation.
In my interpretation.
Of its energy.
I gotcha. Okay.
All right.
Well, it has been, really working with me quite a bit.
Your interpretation has. It has not.
Well, no, but my interpretation of something is working with me.
Yes, but it's your energy.
My own energy?
Yes, taking that form.
Ah.
Because the neutrals do not interact with you.
Well, I didn't connect it with the neutrals.
I am telling you now.
You're telling me.
But your ability to psychically sense what was coming up allowed you to create your own version of the interaction ahead of time, and that is what you are working with, and what is working with you is your form of preparing to engage it in dialogue, so that you can familiarize yourself with it to some degree before the actual interaction.
Oh, yeah.
You understand?
I understand.
That is what is working with you.
Oh, okay.
Your preparatory system.
Ah, well, that's great.
It's your advanced warning system.
Uh-huh.
You understand?
Okay. Yes.
Does that help you?
Yes, it does, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Number 3. You can be 5.
Talking to me, I'm really sorry that I delayed the whole evening. Just ruined everything. The whole transmission's over now. I was going to read a poem on surrender, Bashar, but I'm feeling the need to surrender that over to you, whether I should read it or not, whether it excites you to hear it.
It is up to you.
Don't be a wussy. Oh, my gosh. Peer pressure. Okay, I'll pass the mic. No, I think maybe I'll read it next week.
All right.
To the pretender neutral
Is
people.
there anything else you wish to discuss? Or shall we move to number 4?
I'll leave that up to you.
All right, thank you. Number 4.
I knew that.
You may be 6. Number 5, do you know who you are?
Hi, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
I had an interesting experience when I was up in San Francisco.
Yes.
I found that I had been wanting for a long time to be on the 13th floor.
Yes.
And for whatever reason, synchronistically, it didn't happen, or I'd forget, or something like that. And so I found myself on the 13th floor for that weekend.
Yes.
And I was really excited by that.
All right. Very good.
And there was one part where I said, okay, I'm on the 13th floor. Let me see what happens here. And I went out into the hallway, and I started walking down the hallway, and I kept hearing that thought of, you can walk down the hallway any way you want.
Yes.
But you will walk down the hallway.
Yes.
and
by your own choice.
Yeah. And that there were all these doors.
Yes.
And for a moment, I didn't know which door was mine. And
the 13th.
The 13th?
The 13th door on the 13th floor is always yours.
Ah.
And that goes for all of you.
Yeah, definitely been feeling an affinity for that number.
Yes. All of you have for millennium.
And then I was like laying down to go to sleep.
Yes.
And
but in fact, you were lying down. Unless you were laying someone else down.
And so I'm lying there.
Yes.
And suddenly I felt like I was experiencing my greatest fear because I hadn't realized it, but there was all this earthquake stuff going on. Earthquake awareness, and there was an earthquake movie on TV, and suddenly I realized
earthquake this and earthquake that.
Yeah, and I'm like, suddenly I'm realizing that I'm on the 13th floor.
Yes.
In San Francisco.
Yes.
And
enough to shake you up, isn't it?
Earthquakes.
Yes.
And one of my most greatest terrors was staring me right in the face.
Oh, all right.
And I thought, gee, do I want to go down this road? But simultaneously, at the same moment, I was having the experience of unlimited possibility.
Yes, very good.
That just like the most.
That is what 13 is
static.
for. Yes, that is what 13 is for. It is the transformational space of unlimited possibilities and of choosing paths, roads, directions. Yes, that is the door into your deepest self.
Oh, and yes, it felt like that.
Yes, that's because that's what it is.
Um,
Yes.
And but I really didn't know what to do, to tell you the truth. I was
all right.
I was laying there and I was going, okay, well, I could go down the path of exploring this fear and feel the terror, but I'm so afraid that if I do that, I'm going to manifest it right now.
But you see, you did know what to do, because examining the possibilities is exactly what you do. Exploring what is possible is exactly what you do.
And but I didn't go down the path of feeling the fear and envisioning the full scenario that I'm afraid of.
Well, that's available to you as well, but at least you allowed yourself to recognize that that was available to you, and so to some degree you did use the energy of the 13th floor.
Manifesting it if I did that at that moment. In that
when
kind
you
of
use a word
powerful
like
place.
risk, it is 100%.
Yeah, right. See, I knew that. That's why I didn't go down it. Because if I go down that road, I need to be in a stronger space within myself.
If you say so.
Well, it sounds like it, because I couldn't go down it without thinking that
And
there was
absolute
risk.
strength is equivalent to complete vulnerability.
Right, and so I wasn't willing to feel
And so
that.
the best guide when traveling through the 13th door on the 13th floor is, the best tool is?
Surrender.
Yes. And your best friend is?
The unknown.
The unknown. And thus you become the very essence of paradox.
And that's, yes, I suppose that's what I was experiencing. I was like being on a razor's edge.
Exactly.
But my solution was to go to sleep.
Yes, well, that's all right. You'll go back. You'll go back.
I'll go back.
Now that you have opened it, you'll go back.
So a fear like that, it has to be explored to the level of intensity that I'm obviously holding it for a reason.
Yes. And you are, in some senses, holding it for ransom.
Holding it for ransom?
Yes. I am not going to be any less cryptic than that for now, as befits the number 13.
Okay. So another thing.
One more thing.
One more thing.
One more.
Okay.
We must now accelerate this particular communication transmission process.
All right.
One.
Okay,
Proceed.
one of the things that is happening now is I get into very deep creative spaces, and I hear this music. And it's not, you know what? I don't even think I hear it. I feel it.
Yes.
And I feel it on the left side of my face and my ear.
Yes.
And it's the most exquisite sensation.
All right, then there is more activity in what you call the right side of the brain, the creative area.
And it's like it feels like my song in that sense. I mean, I
In a
can't
sense.
imagine a frequency that would be more perfect.
Then
That's
that
what
will
it
do.
feels like.
Then that will do, and that is your lantern next time you go through the 13th door.
Oh,
That is your lantern that will light the way and illuminate whatever it is that seems to be hiding in the dark.
So when I
Thank you.
okay.
Number 5.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
I have 2 questions.
Yes.
I have had chronic fatigue, and
That must be tiring.
Yes, very.
All right.
And I am probably 80% better, but still feel very vulnerable. And I'm wondering if there is something that would bring back the last vulnerable part of my health.
And your diet is?
I have eliminated an awful lot from my diet.
And it still is now what, in general?
I have no sugar. It's mainly healthy foods as much as possible.
And your water intake?
Probably 6 to 8 glasses a day.
All right. And do you have any fillings?
Yes, they have. That is the one thing I haven't done, is to have them replaced.
That will probably have now one of the biggest effects
okay.
in allowing you to recoup your energy.
All right.
Many of you will find that the idea of the heavy metal toxins that are leaching into your systems from a variety of avenues may be what is allowing you to feel at least 20, 30, 40, or even sometimes 50% under energy par. The more you can do to remove heavy metal poisoning and toxins from your system, especially including the idea of the mercury in your fillings, will go a long way toward neurological rebalance and energy upliftment.
Thank you. It was a subject that was brought up today. So,
yes. Then thank you for your synchronicity.
Yes.
And the second item?
The other thing is,
yes.
I had an experience with a man during a spiritual journey in Teos this week, and I'm like to know what that was about.
It was about allowing you to experience more of your own spirituality. Now, the idea first is to ask, what does that area on your planet represent and signify or symbolize to you? That location.
That location?
Yes.
Well, it had to do with love and acceptance.
Acceptance of what?
Of myself and others.
What is it about yourself that you do not accept? For it is only, in a very real way, the things you don't accept about yourself that allows you to experience a lack of acceptance of others. What is it that you feel you still do not accept within yourself?
My judgments.
And why do you feel that these are necessary for you?
I just haven't been able to let go of them.
No. That is an excuse. If
Yes.
you have them, then you must believe somewhere within your belief system that they are necessary to maintain. Otherwise, you wouldn't have them. It is not difficult to let go of something when you understand that you actually do not want it. You have a belief that still says it is something you want to do. When you no longer have the belief that it is something you want, you will not experience it. How does maintaining these judgments serve you? For that is the only reason you would hold on to something of that nature, is if you believe it must serve you somehow.
It serves me in keeping distance.
And what is the fear involved in that?
The fear.
In what way do you believe you will be hurt by eliminating the distance?
I'm not sure how it's more of making me, it's undermining my own happiness.
I ask you again. First, in what way are you defining the idea of keeping distance? Emotionally?
Yes, emotionally.
And what is the fear in eliminating the distance? What do you fear will happen if there is no longer distance or arm's length in this emotional area?
Well, it did happen. During this experience, I absolutely let go of all of it.
And?
And
does that mean that you have reinstated it?
Yes, I
Why?
have. That's because because he is putting distance, and
So
do
you not understand the lesson? If you
yes,
have allowed
that is true.
the distance to collapse,
I'm not sure about
if you have allowed the distance to collapse, and then you get a reflection from someone else of the imposition of distance, it means that it is up to you to create the idea for yourself, within yourself, of there being no distance. Not between you and them, but within yourself. For you're being given an opportunity to understand that distance is all created within you and that there really is no such thing.
I see.
I give it to you in this analogy. If you look into a mirror, let us say you have a ball in one hand and another ball in another hand. You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
And you see this reflection of yourself holding these balls in a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
You follow me?
Uh-huh.
Now, let us say one ball, pick a color.
Blue.
All right? And the other ball, pick a color.
Red.
All right? Let us say you place one ball close to the mirror. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
And let us say you decide to place the other ball, the red ball, far away from the blue ball.
Yes.
Yet in such a manner that you can still see it in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Yes.
I ask you, is there actually any distance between the reflection of the blue ball and the reflection of the red ball?
Only my perception.
Because you understand that everything is still within the face of the mirror and hasn't really engaged any kind of distance at all.
Mm-hmm.
The distance is an illusion.
Yes.
You understand?
Mm-hmm.
This is the tool you can use to work through this process you are going through.
Mm-hmm.
Understand that physical reality is nothing but a mirror, literally.
Mm-hmm.
And that distance is an illusion.
Yes.
Work with this and ask your guides for assistance, and this will start bringing you new revelations for how to move through this idea.
Okay. Thank
All
you.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And number 6.
Bashar?
And a you good day.
It certainly is. The number 13 is really interesting because I had an experience with 13 today. I went to apply for Social Security benefits.
Social Security benefits.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
thinking that I was entitled and it was the right time and all that stuff.
I see. All right.
And I picked number 13 when it was time to choose numbers. I liked that number, so I held it and was having fun with that.
Yes.
When it came time for my interview,
Yes.
the person I spoke with told me I wasn't entitled, and I was kind of surprised and didn't know what to make of all that.
I see.
but
They have actually, in many ways, done you a favor.
okay. Well, I came away thinking, I know there's something about this. I don't understand it, but I know somehow it's going to turn out
What
well.
is your idea of Social Security benefits?
Increased income.
What is the idea behind the concept?
Oh, the
Social
fundamental
Security
idea.
benefits.
The fundamental idea is that someone does it for you because you don't do it yourself.
Thank you.
Okay, gotcha.
Does
Okay.
that help you?
Yes, it does.
You
well,
will find that in time you will not be able to rely on that kind of Social Security.
okay.
You will, however, all of you in time be able to rely on a social security when you are socially secure.
That sounds better.
Does this help you?
Thank you. I
Yes.
was driving my car,
Yes.
and I noticed that there was the apparent overheating of the vehicle and loss of power.
Yes.
And it occurs to me now this is a metaphor.
All right, everything is.
Uh-huh,
Which
and
doesn't
I'd like
mean that
to-
you ignore the physical reality.
No, I took my car in
Yes.
to be worked on.
Yes.
I had an intuition earlier that I might do this, and I just didn't do it. I was sort
All
of
right.
distracted.
That may be the only lesson. Pay attention to your instincts before something else goes out of whack.
Aha. Well, when I decided that, in fact, I was talking to, I was saying, okay, Bashar, you told us that I'll have the information I need when I need it,
Yes,
so
and you
I'm
did.
calling you.
But
I
you
did.
ignored it.
I did. No, today it worked out very nicely.
All right.
In fact, I want to say that I even had fun with this.
Well, thank
And
you.
I met some really neat people.
Thank you.
And I realized if this hadn't happened the
Yes.
way it did, I
Yes.
wouldn't have been there to meet these people
Yes, you
at
can
that
always
time.
use it synchronistically to your advantage.
Yeah.
But understand that there is a double lesson.
Okay.
A, pay attention to your
Yes.
intuition.
Okay.
B, allow yourself to realize that then whatever happens, you can always extract a positive effect from it no matter what, and that can, quote unquote, put you back on track.
Well, it worked out very nicely, and I
Yes.
came away feeling very joyful.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Does that help you?
That part does. I want to ask you about the Greek letters chi and rho that have been coming to me.
Yes.
And I wrote them down a few minutes ago, and I noticed they both have an H. I think they do. CHIRHO.
Yes.
Am I correct? And that H seems to have some significance.
Some connective quality.
Yeah, and I was thinking too. Well, I don't know the relationship, but today I got a like a visual and a knowing sort of thing of a really comfortable chair.
Nice.
And what I'm not exactly recalling the circumstances, but
The H
what I-
is representative of the link between two parallel realities. the bridge and the link between two parallel lines.
Okay. Chi, I don't know what the letters stand for.
They can stand for many things. We will discuss this at another time.
Okay.
At this time, I, being number 7,
okay,
will extend once again to each and every one of you our deep appreciation in allowing this bridge, this link, this chi, and this rho to occur. We thank you for the co-creation of this transmission. And, again, remind you to prepare for dialogue with the neutral. Good day. How did it go? Thank you all for being here tonight. Have a good week, and I'll see you again. Thanks. Welcome. Thank you for coming tonight. I appreciate it. Before we get started with the actual tonight, especially for those that are somewhat new to this, I think there's going to be something a little bit unusual about the opening. Normally when Bashar comes through, he talks about some subject for a few minutes that he thinks is important as a lead-in monologue. There will be questions and answers for the majority of the session. That part will not change. But last week, Bashar gave us kind of a warning, I guess, for lack of a better word, that there would be sort of a guest that he would be acting as a go-between for tonight. And what he sort of explained, if I understand it, is that he's talked about the fact that his world and other worlds belong to some kind of an association or federation or what have you, whatever you want to call it. But he said that at the initial time when they decided to begin these kinds of contacts, begin these kinds of dialogues with us, I guess one or more worlds decided to abstain from that for various reasons. And what he said is that tonight, supposedly, he will act as a mediator between all of us and one of those worlds, a representative from one of those worlds. And I guess what they're doing is they're sort of checking in to see whether or not things have changed sufficiently for them to begin to start interacting with us as opposed to remaining neutral. We have really no idea what it is that this is going to entail, but I think he made it somewhat clear that maybe more than usual, you should maybe think of yourselves as representatives tonight or diplomats or ambassadors, because I have no idea exactly what kind of an assessment these beings are going to make. I'm sure it's not a judgmental one, but they are, for some reason, and off of exactly what information I don't know, going to determine from this interaction whether or not they want to join in and participate on an ongoing basis. Now, some of us have sort of started talking about this as to what this might mean, and so I just wanted to have a little bit of a discussion ahead of time, because I know some people have been sort of thinking about this all week as to, what are we going to say? I'm not really sure what you need to say, and I'm sure Bashar will sort of handle it when he comes through. But I think I want to say, don't feel like you have to convince them or anything like that. I mean, I guess the best idea is really just be yourselves, but at the same time recognize that this is an opportunity, I guess, for lack of a better term, to sort of put your best foot forward and just sort of engage them and see what it is that's going on. And I don't know. I really don't know what else to say about it, in that context. But so it is a little bit of an unusual opening, so enjoy it for whatever it is. I have no idea what it's going to be. But we'll see where it goes from there, and then there will be normal questions and answers. New people, when we get to the question and answer part and people call out and Bashar chooses you, we do you have the mic? We have a mic is somewhere. Do we know where the mic is? Okay, we have a remote mic. So if you do get called on, just wait until the microphone is passed to you so that we can get you clearly on the tape, and then go ahead ask your question, and it doesn't matter what the question is in terms of subject matter, as long as it's important to you. Okay, so have fun. Good luck. And we'll see where this goes. Does this need... Is the antenna not picking up? Okay. Is that okay? Are you getting this okay?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. Can I go now? Get out of here. Yeah. Get lost. Say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? Once again, we take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for allowing our civilization to communicate with your civilization in this manner, through this window. Each and every time you allow such an interaction to occur, it affords our world an opportunity to experience that many more facets of the infinite creation through each and every one of your perspectives. So we thank you for this gift of sharing and allowing this transmission to take place. We would like to begin this transmission by reminding you that last transmission we gave you a preview, as it were, of what was coming up in terms of the ability, the opportunity to communicate with a member of another species, of another world, another reality, who up to this point and still continuing have decided, though they are a member of the association, to remain neutral with regard to relations and communications regarding your world and several other worlds. This, then, is the opportunity for opening a dialogue with one of their representatives to allow them to make their assessments for their own understanding, for their own perspectives as to whether or not it would be of mutual benefit for them to begin to participate in dialogues of their own, or add their energy to these dialogues. Primarily, one of the reasons that they abstained is that they did not really deem that any change would occur in the direction that would make it beneficial for such communication to take place. But they have, through invitation and partial observation, now been, in a sense, convinced to check in and to see if things have changed sufficiently to warrant their participation. This does not mean that they consider themselves to be better than you. This is not a judgment call, as you say in your language, but simply, on their part, a recognition of what they deem to be timely, fitting, appropriate for their civilization as well as your own with regard to such interactions and such happenstances. Now, I wish you to understand, first of all, that many of the civilizations that have been communicating with you in this methodology, and in particular, many of those consciousnesses and entities that we have facilitated over time, from time to time, in these gatherings, in these transmissions, many of the entities that you have spoken to with our acting as a go-between have been relatively connected or relatively close, genetically speaking, to the idea of human history. They are, at least in many ways, such as ourselves, many of these that have spoken to you, humanoid, human-like. That is, in other words, you would recognize that because we all share with you similar genetic material, that they have the head, the two arms, the two legs, the two eyes, and many of them would appear, though different in texture, though different in somewhat of their appearance, to be relatively understandable. But we wish you to understand now that you are dealing with a civilization that is not connected to you at all, that is not human at all, in any way, shape, or form, even though you would perceive them in your own way, in your own interpretations, as being of between what you call 6 to 8 feet in height. That is all we have told you about them. And you must understand that they are not really in any way, shape, or form that which would appear to you to be human. They are of a consciousness that is, in your terms, evolved, going into a non-physical state, existing in a quasi-physical, non-physical state. Yet they do have a physiology and appearance. We will not describe them at this time because we do not want to put limitations in your mind or appearances. We wish the exchange of the information to be paramount, to be the focus, rather than their appearance. In time, if they decide to begin to participate and interact, then a description or a definition of their appearance and their culture and their world may then become forthcoming. But until such time, let us focus on the idea of the dialogue and the interactions. Now, this interaction will take place in a very specific way, perhaps in a manner best referred to by your word, protocol. There will be a great deal of protocol in this interaction, as befits their species, as befits their style of interaction. Also, we are allowed to tell you that what we are about to describe as the protocol for this interaction may be, in and of itself, that is, the execution of how you handle this protocol may be, in and of itself, something that they will be watching for, something that they will be looking at, something that they will be assessing. And that may factor in to their decision as to whether or not to begin to participate. The very act of interacting is something they are going to be looking at as well as the information in the interaction. So, we will function as a go-between. You will not even really be talking directly to one of them, but we will translate as a mediator, as a go-between, what they have to say, what you have to say. We will preface their information by the terms they say or they ask, so that you will know when we are referring to their dialogue as opposed to our own. Now, here is the beginning of the protocol. In the interaction, it is deemed that it will be appropriate that you choose a representative, a single representative, and that representative will then take the various statements and questions through a raising of hands. But as each person is called upon who may have a question or a statement or a sharing for this being, then that person will state their question, but the representative alone will actually state the question or restate the question or repeat it for the purpose of the actual interaction. Do you follow this? Yes. Now, the single representative that you choose will not have to be the only representative for the interaction. In other words, you can choose a representative and perhaps, for example, allow that representative to field 3 questions You may then decide that you want to give someone else a chance to function as representative. But there will only be at any one time one representative who will address the questions to the being, to the neutral, as we refer to them. Do you understand this technique? So, here is the thing that is first of all. There can be a volunteer for the representative, but there must be not majority decision backing that that person will be the representative. There must be unanimous decision. They, these beings, the neutrals, do not function by majority rule. Anything and everything that they do must be agreed upon unanimously by every single member. One abstaining member, and there is no decision in that direction. Therefore, it is their opinion, their feeling for their society, that to witness how you may handle this idea on your own terms will be something that they are looking at for their own purposes. Therefore, let us begin in some manner for you to decide to pick your first representative for this interaction. That can be, again, by volunteer, and then by vote to back the volunteer, or you can decide some other way. But choose now.
April will volunteer.
Is the idea of April then unanimous? And remember, if there is a nay, it is not a judgmental idea. Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Does anyone abstain or say nay? Very well. We will begin with April. Now then, again, the idea will be that once the connection is made, once we let you know the connection is made, then you can ask for questions and or statements from your group. They can raise their hands. You can call and pick and choose whom you wish. Hear what they have to say and then repeat it to the representative of the neutrals. Do you understand? Yes. All right. One moment. One moment. One moment. All right. They await. All right. They receive and they acknowledge.
The mission of the association is, and in what way we could serve if we belonged to the association.
She would like to know what the mission of the association is and in which way we can serve the association in this mission.
All right. One moment. They say there is no mission to the association. There is only the existence of those vibrations and those frequencies that find themselves in compatibility with others, that find themselves in intention with others, and your service, if so desired, would be to follow suit and become cohesive within your own integrities, within your own intentions. That alone will make you compatible with the idea that created the association. Do you understand this?
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, she understands. Thank you.
They say, they ask, what is your intention? They ask that being that asked the first question. What, then, is your intention?
Well, my intention is to create harmony on Earth and to, within the harmony, to be part of the association.
She says her intention is to create harmony on the earth and to be part, with the association, to be part of that intention.
They ask, how will you create that harmony?
One of the most important things to me, and I don't know about others, but to me, is to understand and not judge what each person's purpose is.
One of the things she says that's important to her, and she thinks perhaps to others also, but she's not sure for others,
is not to judge.
Is not to judge.
They ask, in your choice of non-judgment, is it then sufficient that you yourself experience this non-judgment, or is it to you important that others must also experience non-judgment?
That's a fascinating question that I have been dealing with a lot lately, because if I say others should be non-judgmental, then I am being judgmental of them being judgmental. So I think for me it's important for me not to be judgmental, whereas everybody has to choose their own way of being.
She says that this is something that she's been working with a lot, and that she chooses not to be judgmental, but that sometimes...
Well, if I judge, if I say others have to be judgmental, then I'm making a judgment of how others should be, and I don't want to do that.
If she says others shouldn't be judgmental, then she's making a judgment of others, so she doesn't want to do that.
They say they will then think about this. They ask, are there others who wish to interact at this time?
She would like to know if you would ask her a question.
They say, ask her the question, why?
Why? I'd like to know more about you. I'd like to know more about them, so then we could expand our experience with them.
She'd like to know more about you so that we can expand our experience of you by asking a question.
They say they have asked the question that she wanted them to ask. The question was, why?
Why do you want them to ask you a question? For fun.
They say they will then ask several questions. They say, if that is preferred.
Very much so. Very much so.
They say then that they will discuss and in a moment create a unanimous presentation of what questions they will ask. They ask for one moment. They ask question number 1. Why and in what way do you believe you will learn about us by us asking you a question?
Depending on what kind of question they ask, tells a lot about them.
Depending on what kind of question you ask, tells a lot about you.
They say, then what did you learn from the question just asked?
What did I learn? That they have to agree on the questions.
She learned that you have to agree on the questions.
They say you already knew and were already informed that their methodology required unanimous decision. This is not something you learned new.
I'm enjoying the interaction.
She said she learned that she's enjoying the interaction.
They ask, what does that teach her about us?
That they may have more protocol than works for me.
She said that they may have more protocol than works for her.
They say, so you have then learned that there are different ways, and that each different way is appropriate for different beings. Is that what you have learned?
Affirmative.
They ask, what is the most important thing you believe you have ever learned about yourself?
That she's God, or that I'm God. I am God.
They ask, why is that important?
It's beyond, I have no idea.
She said it expanded her experience beyond, I have no idea.
They ask, which is it?
You have no idea, or that it expanded your experience?
The potential is,
You could just repeat it again.
They ask, are you experiencing difficulty?
They say obviously.
She says obviously.
They ask, in what way then will you use this experience of difficulty to determine what your answer will be?
I'm learning about communicating through a third person and a fourth person.
She says she's learning about communicating through a third person and a fourth person.
They ask, what have you learned about communicating through another person?
It takes longer and it's confusing me.
She said it takes longer and it's confusing her.
They say they will think about that. They ask, then, for another question or comment.
Would someone else like to ask a question? Yes.
I'd like to ask them if they have different levels to their society, because it seems that they all want to relate on the same vibrational level. Are there?
She asks, do they have different vibrational levels in their society? Because it seems that they want to relate all on the same vibrational level.
They say both and none. They ask, is this understood?
Yes.
Yes.
They ask, explain it back to us.
It's
short.
It's a paradox.
It's a paradox, she says.
They say, define paradox.
Paradox means there is something and there is nothing, and it exists at the same time.
Paradox means that there is something and there is nothing, and it exists at the same time.
They ask, give a definition in 2 words only.
Existence and non-existence.
Do you wish to discuss this before you allow the representative to actually answer?
Would you like to discuss it with the group?
No.
Right.
We are giving you a moment to discuss this.
Would you like to solicit other opinions about how to say that? They're asking you to answer in 2 words. Okay.
I know that.
And now the question is, would you like to say those 2 words, or would you like to solicit some assistance from others in the group?
Ask them what they would prefer.
They've already said what they prefer.
All right, so let's do 2 words.
All right. It is?
But that's not a paradox. Within 2 words has to be the opposite.
They have told us we are allowed to give you a clue. Think back to what you have learned and think back to basics.
Oh, all one. Do you like all one?
No.
Like that? All right, we have an answer. The answer is all one.
They say, close enough. They were looking for second law.
May we ask another question?
They say, yes.
Because we have such individuals in our society, and I, myself, am interested in learning more about their mass consciousness that seems to be their telepathic mass consciousness. Do they have any ideas on how we can reach that with our individuality?
She says, because we have so many individuals in our society, and they are as one consciousness, telepathic, she would like to know how we can become a telepathic society.
They say they have perceived this question to imply that individuality is exclusive to telepathic cohesion. Is this what is being said?
No.
They ask. They ask, what is being said?
I'm saying that we have so many individuals on our planet that are vibrating at different rates. And if we were to become a more cohesive society so we could work with them in the Association of Worlds, what are their thoughts on how they see we can reach that?
You're asking them how everybody should react to get that? We're not a unanimous.
They say, she says that because we in our society vibrate at so many different vibrational levels, and they're not unanimous, how can we all vibrate at the same vibrational level in order to be telepathic with one another? Or
to be, a cohesive unit that can work with them in the association.
to be a cohesive unit to work with them with the association.
And not how can we be, but how do they see this happening for us? What is their vision?
Not how can we be, but how do they see this happening for us? What is their vision?
They ask, how do you function as an individual when your own consciousness is created from so many different personality components?
I judge that by my my level of excitement, that would be the true place to vibrate.
She judges that the true place for her to vibrate is at the level of her excitement.
They say non-responsive. Colloquially, they are saying you did not answer the question.
Okay. How do I? By the
Do
way,
you understand the question? Do you wish them to ask it again?
I understand the question is that because I am multi-personality, have very many personalities, how do I know when I'm cohesive in my personality? Is that correct?
She wants to know is that because she's many different personalities, are they asking her how she knows when she's functioning as a cohesive personality?
They say that is the correct question.
Okay. So the answer is all that is.
She says when she feels at one with all that is.
They ask, who is I that is doing the feeling in that case?
All that is.
She says
individually expressed.
She says all that is individually expressed.
They say then, do you not have the answer to your original question?
Yes, thank you very much.
She says yes, thank you very much.
They say, allow for another representative.
Okay.
No, I don't want to be the...
This is a representative. Who wants to be a representative?
Would anyone else like to be a representative?
It has to be unanimous, and sometimes
It has to be unanimous. No,
right.
Right.
This is not about forcing anyone.
Volunteer. If it's okay with everyone.
All right, Barbara has volunteered.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Those abstaining?
Okay, we have a new representative. Bashar, we have a new representative.
They say, proceed.
Does anyone have a question? Okay, go ahead. I don't want to block anyone. I'll come over here. You have a question?
Yes, I do. It would appear that okay. It would appear that it'd appear that their society is functioning consistent with the laws of quantum physics.
It would appear that your society is functioning in consistent with the laws of quantum physics.
They say that which you refer to as quantum physics are not laws, but only conditions of localized universe, soul experience. We will function also by some similar principles, in particular when there is an interface between our reality and a reality such as your own, they say. They say, however, in our own reality, some of what your reality calls laws of physics do not apply, though they are not wrong for your reality.
It would appear that neither time nor space among their society has the same meaning as it does with us.
It would appear that neither time nor space in their society has the same appearance as it does with us.
They say this is correct. However, they understand some aspect of linear space-time, and linear time-space must be applied in forming this bridge.
Does not the human need to relate among themselves more along the lines as described by quantum physics, so that does not the human need to, do not we humans need to relate to each other?
Do not we humans need to relate to each other?
In the sense of the timelessness and the lack of distance, such as appears to be...
In the sense of the timelessness and the lack of distance, as appears to be...
what is occurring among your people.
What is occurring among your people.
They say more of this must be incorporated within your consciousness, but not at the expense of linearity in totality.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They say if linear time-space is completely forsaken, there is no methodology then of application of less linearity in your reality. They say the idea is balance.
More heart, less mind here.
More heart, less mind here.
They say, yes.
He says thank you.
They say thank you.
Since I understand the one that I am the all, I really understand that. I'd like to incorporate that maybe, because I really get excited when we work as a forum here, and maybe we could all pull together to ask a question through you, so that maybe it's a collective question, all of us functioning as the one, instead of maybe thinking of individuals. Yeah, I mean, I'd love for everybody to get together, because when we started to do that, we were really excited. We kind of collectively pulled our...
John, this being is named John, and he got very excited when all of us got together and formed a question on a collective level, and we would like to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems more... It's a chance to apply the second law.
No response is required from us on this point.
Is that unanimous with everyone here?
So what's a fun question that we could all ask together? It's something that excites everybody. Huh? What, Bob? Go ahead. What?
I'm interested if they have subject-object, if they see the world as subject-object, or is there just perceiving?
Got you. Okay.
Is that okay with everyone?
Does everybody agree with that question?
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
the question is, do you see yourselves as a perceiver only, or
perception, or just perceiving?
And an object of perception, or just the act of perceiving?
They say on all levels except the one. There is always the perceiving that creates the perceiver and the perceived. Various levels will relate to this relationship to varying degrees. But to all levels is always available the understanding that the one is simultaneously that which is perceived, that which does the perceiving, and the act of perception all at once. This triune relationship exists on every level but the one. We, they say, are in full recognition and experience of the triune, understanding ourselves as the perceiver, as the perceived, and as the act of perception simultaneously. They ask of the same being that asked this question, to what degree do you then experience the aspects of this triune relationship?
I allow myself to dissolve into the act of perceiving without the need of perceived or object of perception. Perceiver or object of perception.
He says he allows himself to dissolve into the act of perceiving without
into the act of perception without needing object or subject.
Into the act of perception without needing object or subject.
I know what I'm saying.
They then ask the question. Then who asked the question?
That asked the question.
They ask, then who is that?
That I am.
They then ask, who is the I am that recognizes itself as the I am?
Does everybody agree that the one is asking the question? Yeah.
I do.
Teaching has been about all life. There's only one of us here.
No, it's included in the one. I think that's what the collective... The one is the all, and the all is the one. That's the paradox that we're surrendering to. That when we surrender everything, then we can have that. I understand. But who's surrendering? I understand. Who's the I?
Now, are you a part of the whole? Because you're I don't know if we're supposed to answer. Aren't we supposed to be answering his? My answer.
Yeah, we're having a collective discussion in order to answer the question.
Okay,
we're having a collective discussion in order to answer your question.
Tell him we need to. We're going to unanimously agree on this answer before we answer him.
We're going to unanimously agree on this answer before we answer.
Okay, so wait, we got what are we doing now?
They then say that they unanimously agree that you may unanimously agree.
So they have a sense of humor. Thank you. So what's the answer that we collectively agree on here?
Maybe the truth that there is no individual, that there's only one, and that's the truth.
That's
and if that's the truth, we can take the attitude here or the stand that is the truth. There's no individual. There's only one.
Well, I agree
with
that.
So what John's answer is who's asking the question? Consciousness is asking the question.
Well, what about the experience of paradox when you experience both simultaneously? That is the Zen experience.
Well, only when... Okay. Well, I can't answer the question. Only when I allow myself to be nothing can I be something. So I surrender into the awareness of nothing, which is everything. So, but he's asking who's answering that question, who's even talking right now, and I would like for all of us to answer that.
Maybe it's the difference between the masculine and the feminine. My feminine experience is I don't even have to try it, and it happens.
Anybody else?
Perhaps the neutral part of us could answer the question.
The neutral part of us? Oh, the neutral part of us can answer the question. All right, cool.
See, we're moving into polarity.
Cool. We want to merge with those guys, and they're part of us. So we'd like to ask the neutral part of us to answer that question.
So
we're surrendering to the neutral part of us that will answer this question. So you can.
We're surrendering to the neutral part of us, so we can answer this question.
That answers this question.
That answers your question.
They say, then they will await the answer from the neutral portion of yourself.
Which is that, right?
Well, we can agree on the fact that we don't agree. That's something. So we can agree. So what do we agree on?
How about when Bashar talks about that particle that's vibrating so fast it looks like a whole bunch of things, but it's just one thing that's...
Can we ask him?
Love answers the question. How about love answers the question? Does everyone agree that love can answer this question?
Yeah.
Love is asking the question?
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Noah.
Love is asking the question.
They say, love is asking the question through whom?
Well, I said it before, but he didn't dig that. Through Bashar. Through Bashar?
Through Bashar.
They say, non sequitur.
Is not love an aspect of each of us, so therefore is it not the love that is within each of us that is responding?
Yeah.
In other words, are we the frequency of that collectively?
Is not love always neutral?
It's just this full acceptance, right, of what is. And so
Isn't it the one thing that we have all in common?
we all have love in common.
That must be
Surrender.
Must be the
Surrender to
uniting.
love. But who's asking the question, though, is what he's asking.
that's what he wants to know. Who's asking the question?
Huh?
Ask them who's asking that.
Okay.
The same person that's asking that.
Okay, it's the same question. It's the same consciousness that's asking his question is asking our question. Is that cool?
The same consciousness that is asking your question is asking our question.
They say, I am.
I am. We said I am.
We said I am.
They say, when they say I am, they are acknowledging simultaneously the whole and the individuality. They say there is no forsaking of one for the other. They say the idea is then not to make mysterious this notion, but to remain in your terminology and within the realm of your existence pragmatic. They say the answer is coming through your individuality from your oneness. You, they say, may know on the oneness. You may experience as a oneness. But to ask the question requires that you take the oneness into individuality, or no question is asked. For the one does not need to ask the question. The one knows. But in the form of a question, the one becomes the individual who does not know and asks.
I mean, I felt that's what I said, but I didn't. Thank you.
Thank you.
They say, thank you. They now say, They will ponder all that has been exchanged. They say they will let you know. They say, end of transmission. We will take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for co-participating in this exercise. They will let you know when they have made a decision. Of course, it will mean it will have to be unanimous. So we will let you know what that decision may be, when and where it occurs. You may now resume what you call standard format for these interactions, and you may begin this time with sharing.
Bashar.
You, good day.
It is. It absolutely is.
Thank you for this opportunity to share, Bashar. I would like to discuss two dreams that I had very recently.
One.
All right.
Choose which you believe is most important or exciting to you. One only.
Okay. The most exciting one happened on the 5th.
Oh, by the way,
yes.
I am allowed to give you another clue.
Okay.
Don't think that this interaction is over.
Okay.
They are still listening.
Okay. Well, that makes me feel very responsible somehow. I don't know. But anyway, in this dream, I find myself in a room which is very, very familiar to me. There's, it feels very Victorian, and as I recall it, it comes alive to me. I'm a female, about 30 years of Earth time, and I'm in this room, and I seem to know there's an object on the wall. I describe it as a wax safe. It's quite a curious thing. There are layers and layers of wood-looking paper, which I peel apart. I open, which reveals another and another for some time. And within this, I already know what's inside. But when I reach the interior, there are what I describe as cream-colored wax, almost candle-looking rods. They appear to be maybe 18 inches in length and maybe a quarter to a half inch in diameter. And I'm wondering if this represents hybrid children somehow. Okay. Well, in this dream, I'm unclothed and I'm walking around preparing to bathe. I see a great deal of lace that's very familiar to me. I know this lace. It belongs to me somehow, but I seem to know within this dream what's happening as though I've done it previously.
And what is it you seem to know?
I seem to know where everything is. I know this room belongs to me. I know this is my life somehow.
All right, and do you understand this?
Well, that's what I want to talk with you about.
You don't understand this?
I believe that this is a part of who I am at some point. This is one of my expressions.
And what is the symbology for you?
It's very feminine, very beautiful, extremely sensual.
All right.
I think that's the part that I found a little surprising. It was so...
Why so?
Because I don't experience that much readily, presently.
And yet to be, considering yourself a whole being, you must experience all aspects within yourself.
Is that the message of this dream?
It is one of them. It is your understanding that you all know this already. You all know what it is you're going to find when you peel away all the layers. You all know what it is that this lacy network represents in terms of your ability to connect to anything you want. You all understand that you have the masculine and feminine aspects and the positive and the negative and all polarities within you. And you all understand that in order to allow yourself to function holistically, there is required to be an equal balance of all these things within your collective energy. And thus then, as you peel all this away, at whatever rate you deem is comfortable for you, you then will find these rods that will act and will function in a sense like a measuring device, like a calibration device that will represent when you have come into your majesty. They are scepters of commandment. You understand?
Not clearly.
Do you know what a scepter is?
I have an idea. It's something that a regal being holds.
Yes.
Beyond that, I
don't know. Well, then,
know.
the idea is that if you discover, after peeling away all the layers, that what remains is the scepter, then you understand that you are, all of you, a regal being, in that sense that you are made in the image of the infinite and are, in that sense, unconditional beings. And this is your ownership of power.
Why are there so many of these rods contained within
Because
this?
you can approach it from many different directions and own your power from any direction you wish. It is also representative of the multitudes that you are connected to and that are a part of you. In your own personality structure, each and every aspect of your personality deserves to be its own king and queen. That is the secret, so to speak, to unity. When each component of the individuality is allowed to be its full regal self, its full sovereign self. Do you understand that term?
I get the picture of that. I'd like to ask about the symbolism of the bathtub. Why am I bathing? What does this represent?
Again, it is simply your idea of coming clean. Of allowing yourself to peel away layers and feel that you are divesting yourself of that which does not belong to you. Allowing yourself to peel away layers and feel that you are divesting yourself of that which does not belong to you, of that which is in your terms not your vibration, of that which you can let go of. Come clean into your pure vibration. Honoring yourself. This is all about self-honoring.
Okay.
And honoring every aspect of your total self. Do you follow?
Yes, I will.
Does this serve you?
It serves me beautifully.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You and then you. Number 2, do you know who you are? Me? Yes. Okay. Number 1, good day.
Hello, Bashar. I have been drawn to return to Sedona to make it my home in a few months.
All right, goodbye. Have a nice trip.
Oh, I shall.
Have fun living there.
I would like to ask you your perception. When I was there, I think August, September of last year, I found the energies to be very chaotic, and I didn't feel in harmony there, being in that vortex.
How do you feel about yourself, then?
That had a lot to do with it.
It has everything to do with
did.
it. The idea of that particular vortex is that it acts like an amplifier of whatever it is you bring into the vortex with you.
Aha.
Aha.
Yes.
Therefore, in what way do you believe you were functioning chaotically?
Well, my life was not in harmony.
Well, then.
So that is a good reflection, yes.
That is what it is there to do.
My question about that vortex.
Yes.
A friend of mine who lives close by in Flagstaff said that recently the energy, not recently, but for the last several months, in her perception, it has been very calm and smooth.
This is relative.
Okay. I was wondering...
It is personal, it is relative, it is individual.
It is. I wondered if it was a reflection of the mass consciousness being more...
To some degree, yes, but still it is personal, it is relative, it is, in that sense, individual, based on your relationship to the whole and what you believe is the relationship of the whole to yourself.
I understand. Thank you.
Does this help you?
Very much. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Next.
Hi, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
This is a quick question referring back to years ago at Margot's.
Understood.
Having to do with the association. I seem to remember that you had told us then that we had become a part of the association.
To a certain degree. Not full-fledged members, obviously.
Okay.
The idea of what it is that was conducted this day of your time is association business to the level and to the degree that you are members, you were allowed to participate in that interaction to be able to determine your own relationship to the association in that sense. But only to that degree are you members.
Okay. Now, the other thing that I remember, and I could be wrong, is that you had said at some time around year 2000, Earth would split between those of us who would go into fourth density reality and those who would remain in third density. Could you...
Yes, but this window is a little bit larger than that. It actually goes from the idea of your year of 2005 till about 2013.
Okay, so the people who will go into fourth density are more likely to join the association and not the others? Is there a...
There will be no third density association membership.
Right, okay. But there will be still third density people on Earth?
But it will be on third density Earth, and fourth density Earth will not perceive them.
So there will be a split?
There is always a split. We are talking about something that goes on all the time. We were simply being precise as an analogy and a euphemistic illustration.
Okay.
But this split is occurring every moment.
All right. Thank you very much.
Does that help you?
Yes. Yes.
What? You!
Thank you, Bashar.
Good day.
Good day to you. I am investing in an offshore project, and I believe I've done my homework about it. I feel excited.
Investing in an offshore project?
Yes, sir.
Sir. I see. This is a formal meeting.
No, this is new to me, so excuse me, please.
You are excused.
I feel good about it, and I feel excited about it.
Yes.
And I know the whole idea of this whole project for myself is trusting myself.
All right.
And I believe I did my homework about this project and about the person who's bringing
if you say
myself
so. If you say
into
so.
this project.
If you say so.
But I'm wondering if I've missed anything or I have
don't
not
know.
seen anything.
I don't know. We do not function as financial advisors for your people. Okay. Is there anything else you wish to discuss?
I'm not sure. I don't know how to ask the question then.
Maybe there is another question. Or maybe there is a statement you wish to make instead of a question.
I don't know how to put it into words. The statement.
I see. Do you want some help?
Yes, I'd love some help.
Oh, all right. Thank you. You want us to help you?
I would like you to help me.
Oh, all right. I see. Thank you. Are you sure?
I'm positive.
Are you sure you're positive?
I'm absolutely positive. I'm positive.
Oh, all right. What is your greatest fear about this venture?
That I make a mistake.
Define mistake.
That in trusting myself, I let myself down.
In trusting yourself, you let yourself down. You don't call that a mistake, to think that way?
It is a mistake.
Then you've made a mistake.
It's true.
Are you still afraid of making mistakes?
I'm getting to learn not to be afraid of making mistakes.
You're getting to learn to not be afraid of making mistakes. All right. How long do you believe it will take you before you are not afraid of making mistakes?
I think I've learned already.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
Absolutely?
That's why I'm doing this project.
Beyond a shadow of a doubt?
Yes.
With no hesitation whatsoever?
Yes.
Oh, all right. Any other fears?
No.
All right. May I ask you a question?
Yes.
Why, thank you. Let's say you go ahead with this venture. What if it doesn't turn out the way you think? Then what?
Then that's the way it is.
That's the way it is. Will that be all right?
I feel that it will be.
Why?
Because I'm feeling good about making a decision and not worrying about it.
Then you understand that perhaps the experience of making the decision may be, more importantly, what this is all about anyway.
I agree.
Do you understand?
I believe that.
All right. Then have fun.
Thank you.
Thank you. You!
I have a question from me and a question from Jill, another member.
All right. One each.
One each. Mine is that I've been involved in a practice of Buddhism for quite a long time.
Oh, all right. When are you going to do it for real?
Well, I'm doing it for real now.
Oh, you have stopped practicing then?
Yes, I've stopped practicing.
Yes.
And the question is, I've realized there's so much, I guess, deconstruction going on in the universe right now. Things breaking down.
Yes.
And the truth is coming up like a flower.
The truth. What's that?
The reality.
The truth. What is the truth?
One is all and all is one.
Well, that's one. All right.
That's
yes.
one truth. Another truth would be the truth of whatever the truth is of the individual
What
situation.
What is the truth? There is truth. All truths are true. So for you, what is the truth?
The truth is...
What is the truth? 2 words.
Whatever excites you.
2 words. You want a hint?
I am.
You want a hint?
Sure.
My truth.
My truth.
Is the truth.
I like that. Okay.
Whatever it is, at any given moment, your truth at that moment is the truth. Even if it changes in the next moment.
Excellent.
Then that's your truth.
Excellent.
All truths are true. That's the truth.
Excellent. I like
You
that.
follow?
I follow.
Does this help you?
Yes, it helps me immensely.
And
the what's happening with this Buddhist religion is
Yes.
that it's splitting, and there's like a priesthood and lay people.
Yes.
And it's sort of like the Buddhist doing, not the practice, but the Buddhist doing is what has been defined as Buddhism is losing its value, and people are taking sides, and I want to know.
Do you mean it's losing its value to you?
Well, not really, but I'm sort of doing my own thing.
Well, there you go. That's Buddhism.
So I just wondered what was going on.
They're doing their own things. They're being Buddhists.
They're doing each person, they're taking sides. There's two different sides, and it's...
Two different sides. You mean like a coin?
Yes.
Well, have to have both sides in order for there to be a coin, don't you?
Whoa, okay.
Spend a little time with that thought.
Okay.
What is the question
I'll
for Jill?
I'll cash in on it.
Thank
Okay.
you.
You're welcome.
You will earn dividends.
Thank you. I will reap many benefits, I'm
Yes.
sure. Yes. Jill wants to know, she has two questions.
One
is, can you give her a healing meditation for her leg/ankle? Because
No, but her guides can. Since that was quick, I'll allow you to ask the other question.
She's taking an awful lot of pain medication because her foot was forced forward and then a cast was put on it.
Yes.
She wants to know what she can do in lieu of taking the pain medication. Does she, if you have any suggestions, she's not happy about taking the pain medication.
One moment. One moment. There can be in conjunction. Number one, the rubbing of the surface of the skin with the pure aloe jelly. You follow me?
Yes.
And there can be the application of the hot and the cold towels in succession, one after the other, about 15 minutes each, on top of the aloe infusion in that area. Back and forth, simultaneously with deep, even, rhythmic breathing, and simultaneously with the envisioning in the mind's eye of blue electromagnetic blue energy infusing that area, making it vibrate, making it light up, seeing it align all the cells of the structure even down unto the bone. That in conjunction, all those things together. Aloe, hot and cold, 15 minutes each. Deep breathing, rhythmically. Blue light envisioned in that area. All right?
Okay. The pain medication, though, she should continue taking that until...
For now, but she will find that as she does this, she will require less and less. And then she can wean herself as needed.
Okay.
Do you follow?
Yes.
Thank you.
May I ask
No.
another? No? Okay.
When we say one, we mean one.
I see that. Thank you for sharing.
You!
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
How are you doing?
Perfect, and you?
Pretty good.
All right. One also.
Okay.
Focus.
I have a question of proceeding with integrity, and I'll give you the scenario, which is not political.
Ask the question only. No scenario. Ask the question only.
It is possible for me to pass a letter.
Ask the question only.
Okay, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to do something different.
Is that a question?
It's a statement.
All right. Are you saying then you do not need to ask the question?
I'm saying I don't think I can ask. I'm going to ask a shorter question so that other people can ask questions.
Ask whatever you wish.
Okay. There are two horses where my horse is, a mother and her son. They're quite beautiful. And they run wild. They both have been ridden, but they pretty much run wild. I can touch them now. I can brush them now. They follow me around like puppies.
And your question is?
What is the metaphor for me that I cannot put a halter on them at this time?
In what way would it be necessary to place artificial limitations on your joy? You perceive?
I don't know if you're saying that I've done this or that
this is the thing to consider. This is the metaphor. You do not need them. There are other ways of communicating with those symbols, with those beings. And to put halters on them is symbolically representative of putting artificial limitations on your joy. You do not need as much structure as you think to get where you're going. That is the symbol and that is the reflection. All right?
And I can still proceed with integrity.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Yes?
Bashar.
Good day.
Good day. One question I have is, while on the 13th floor.
The 13th floor. An exercise we have recommended that many of you do. Take yourself to the 13th floor. Ooh, scary.
Well, I feel like I've been on the 13th floor and have not left it.
Oh, all right. Very good.
And I'm interested in some ideas about navigating in that level of disorientation.
Navigating throughout chaos. Yes?
Yes.
All right. Well, when you become chaos yourself, you will find paradoxically that you are automatically organized. When you become the fluid in which you swim, you will find that your course will be unerring.
So if I'm experiencing the chaos around me,
then you are putting it outside yourself.
If I experience the chaos as being me,
then it will not seem chaotic. You will understand it.
Okay.
Yes, you will understand it and will learn how to see it and relate to it in a manner that it will no longer be perceived as chaotic to you.
Okay, and that involves being in a neutral space to some extent.
That is, to some degree, part of a process that you could utilize, yes.
Yes, I can see that.
All right.
I also had a dream where I saw it was a tetrahedron on top and bottom.
Yes.
And I had imbued it before I went to sleep with a vision of a set of relationships at each point.
Yes.
And when I went to sleep, I dreamed that I saw the tetrahedron, or I'm not sure what that's actually called.
You are saying a double-terminated
tetrahedron.
Base to base?
Yes.
Not interpenetrating?
No.
Base to base?
Yes.
All right.
I saw it lying on the ground, and next to it was a liquid, looked like honey.
Yes.
And there was also ants around it. And when I went over to pick it up, it was like I had to go through these things to pick it up. And when I went to pick it up, the ants they were big black ants, and they got all over me.
Oh, all right.
Which made me a little nervous. And then I went and I picked it up.
Yes.
And I just wondered if there was something you could tell me about.
Why did they
that
make
symbol.
you antsy?
Well, they were kind of creepy and crawly.
Creepy and crawly. Yes.
And they were on me.
Yes, so?
And I didn't want them on me. I
Why?
brushed them off.
Why?
Oh, why?
Why?
Oh, because it felt uncomfortable. It felt...
Why?
Like they were violating my space.
Why? Why did it feel like a violation instead of an assistance?
I think I was so noticing that their legs were like crawling on me. The sensation itself.
The sensation.
And the sensation of being overwhelmed by the sheer numbers of them.
The sensation of being overwhelmed.
Yeah. It was a sensation.
Oh, all right. What do you think surrender feels like?
Like that?
Yes. It can. Doesn't have to, but it can. As long as there are still limitations on your definitions, it can feel like that. Nevertheless, they were an opportunity for you to surrender. You did pretty good.
Oh, that's good.
But since you still feel overwhelmed by it and it still feels a little creepy-crawly, you still have some filtering on your willingness to totally surrender.
So had I walked over and experienced the ants all over me and reached for the tetrahedron and enjoyed the whole concept, not been concerned,
then you would have perceived yourself as the honey. And you would have been overjoyed and full of gratitude to be supporting the ants by the total giving of yourself. You see?
Yes.
And out of that liquid would come the crystallization that is the tetrahedral structure as well. The seed. Do you follow this analogy?
Yeah, I'm getting a sense of it because
All right.
I think I was experiencing like some adversity to getting to it. Like I had to go through this mire in order to reach it.
Yes, but you see, you are the mire. You are the
Yes,
honey.
I see that.
And if you had become the honey, you would have had the relationship with the ants you needed to have, and you would have automatically contained, in a sense, or been contained in the tetrahedral structure.
Yeah.
It was there to give you a sense of seeing whether or not you were still goal-oriented in the old-fashioned way.
Oh, excellent.
Instead of becoming
Excellent.
the event and thus knowing you automatically contain the goal, you were still looking at it a little bit too linearly in the idea that you had to get through something to get to the goal.
Right.
Instead of being the event which contains all the goals.
Okay.
That's surrender.
Oh.
A beautiful dream analogy. Thank you for your picturesque illustration.
Oh, thank you, Bashar. Two.
And to you. You and then you. Number 2, do you know who you are? All right, number 1, good day.
Good day, Bashar. That conversation with April reminded me a lot of the dreams I've had lately.
All right, 1.
1, okay. Last night I had a dream that there was some being, some sort of male energy reaching up into me and trying to do some kind of test on the baby, some kind of invasive test.
If you say so.
And I was looking down at my belly, and the baby kept scooting over from here and from there, and getting away.
Yes.
And so I guess this is just an intense fear of mine.
Which is what? That the baby is not safe.
Yeah, and kind of, I really want to stay away from being invasive with the baby, and that was just
You want to stay
total
away from
invasion.
being invasive yourself? Is that what you're saying?
Oh.
That is what you said.
Yeah, well,
I want to stay away from being invasive with the baby.
Right.
Is that what you meant to say?
Yes, that is what I meant to say.
Why do you feel you would be invasive?
Well,
In
I'm
what
not,
way do you fear you would be invasive?
Well, I don't think I will be invasive.
Then why did you say it?
I just don't, I'm not going to go through a lot of the medical tests that some women go through when they're pregnant.
Yes, and so?
And so in the dream, I was just sort of forced to go experience it.
All right, so you were forced to explore the idea of whether or not you're making that decision out of fear or out of knowingness.
Right.
You understand?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That gives you the opportunity to balance this issue and go forward in a natural way, knowing that you're actually doing it in a natural way that you're sensing is truly okay, as opposed to not doing it because you are in fear of doing it, which is a very different scenario.
Right.
Do you understand the difference?
I do.
Does this help you?
Yeah, so I was just working that out
Yes.
in my dream? Okay.
Yes. And you're
Yeah.
being assisted in working that out.
Yes, great. Thank you.
that help you?
That helps a lot. Thanks,
Thank you.
Bashar.
Number 2.
Hi, Bashar.
And a you good day.
I think this relates to April's dream.
Oh, all right. You are a little bit antsy, too.
My own version, I think.
Yes.
The last interaction we had, my main question had to do with will versus surrender.
Yes.
I didn't ask it, but as usually happens, I get it answered anyway.
All right. Thank you for your synchronicity.
I got surrender all night long.
All right.
So the dream I had, I was reading before I went to sleep about the many worlds interpretation of quantum physics.
Yes.
And in the dream,
Yes.
it was like that null point again.
Yes.
And I had the ability to heal myself and others by going to these different worlds and
Yes.
these different points.
Yes.
I could intuit where I needed to go.
Yes.
But I had to go through this process to get there. And it was...
That process being?
It was sort of my version of the ants, maybe.
Oh, all right.
It was terrifying to me.
Because?
Because I thought it would be instantaneous. If I just focused on where I needed to go, it would be an instantaneous
And
thing.
because it took a little time, you panicked.
Yes.
All right.
It took time, and I could feel my consciousness dissolve. I could feel it was like this incredible, rapid move through these tunnels. And it was, yeah.
I could feel my consciousness dissolve.
I didn't like it.
Why not?
Well, it sounds fine now.
One moment. Let me ask it this way.
Yeah.
Who didn't like it?
Oh, God.
Well, I've learned a thing or two from the neutral.
Oh, great.
But there is a very specific reason for asking the question that way. Who didn't like it? What didn't like it?
Well, it was that individualized portion of me that was still enough there.
No, not just that it's individualized. Not that it's just individualized. What was the thing that was protesting? The mind. Because the mind thinks that the dissolution or the shift of consciousness equals death, annihilation. It does not. No, it does not. It only equals expression in a different modality. I have. What do you think I'm doing right now? Perhaps it is simply a semantic difficulty here. The idea is that true mind death would be accompanied also by your physical death. But if you're not physically dying, then your mind is not really dying, it's just shifting gears. It's just shifting modalities of expression. But it has only been taught to think of that kind of a shift as a true death. But it's not.
And this is essentially what surrender is about.
Your mind is definitely being passed through the eye of the needle, through the all that is, in the shift. And in that sense, it equates it to the experience of death. But the idea is that for the mind's interpretation of death, being annihilation is equivalent to non-existence, and that can't happen. It is impossible for the mind to actually not exist. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
But the mind can experience a kind of momentary suspension. It equates to actual non-existence. But it's not. That's what the mind has to understand. It's just the neutral place through which the mind must pass in order to come out the other side as a new mind, as a different mind. And the mind has to learn not to mind it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not just being clever when I put it that way. The mind has to learn not to mind it.
Right, right.
That's the trick. That's what you have to train it to do, to not mind. Does that make sense to you?
It does. What I wanted to sort of expand and relate this to is that during this dream was very powerful, and it's just been in my consciousness since.
One moment.
Yeah.
Perhaps a little bit of a difference of inflection on the way we said that would also help illuminate what is actually being said, since we understand that sometimes there can be difficulty with language interpretation. The mind has to not mind.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Not mind is a state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
Not mind.
Mind not.
Not mind.
Not mind.
But that is not really no mind. It is not mind.
Right.
But it is one of the states mind can experience. Not mind is the mind's gestalt. But it doesn't mean there is really no mind in the sense that it doesn't exist, but it is a state of mind called not mind. It might be akin to witness in a sense, but in some senses it is even less than that. It is the mind's version of knowingness. Even the mind has its own version of simple absolute knowingness, and that is not mind, but it is still in the legion of mind. But it has to understand that that is a state of mind and not a true annihilation in terms of non-existence. Does that help?
Yes, 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 yes.
All right.
I'm assuming that this relates when, for the several days after that, was going through the thing about trying to work through this dream, but also the disparity between the state of these healings in the dream and my waking consciousness, in which I've been sicker than I've been in I don't remember how long.
Well, all right. Are you sick now still?
Up until about 2 hours ago.
Well, all right.
Yeah.
And now, how do you feel?
Better.
Better?
Yeah. I always feel better when I'm here.
Oh, I see. Then why don't you stay?
I don't get how to stay.
You don't get how to stay? Of course you get how to stay. How did you create this interaction to begin with? Aren't you creating this interaction right now?
But not with my conscious mind.
Oh, yes, you are.
Well, if I were consciously aware.
What are you saying,
of
that
how
we're
I
having
was...
this conversation while you're asleep?
If I were sufficiently consciously aware of how we were able to create this interaction, I would be able to maintain it so that there was no cessation.
Well, no, you see. You think you have to maintain it, and so you cannot continue to create it. It's not about maintaining it. It's just about choosing it. It's about choosing to be the state when you want to be. Why can you not be this state anytime you want? You know why? You know why?
Yeah.
You know why?
No.
Because you create other times to be other times.
Right, okay. Okay. But during those other times when I choose to be this, and it doesn't happen, is it because my mind is doing this split and saying, oh, well, I'm in this other state and I'm choosing this, so there's this...
It's because you are going to your definitions and relying on your definitions and choosing your definitions that are the definitions that do not allow you to experience this state. Why?
Mm-hmm.
What do you get out of doing that? If this is what you prefer, if this state is what you prefer, why don't you continue to choose this state?
But see, I truly don't get why I...
But you are able to make that choice.
So then there must
It's not that you're not able to make that choice, it's that you're choosing something else.
So I think I'm choosing one thing, but because I'm getting some payoff somewhere, I'm making another choice.
Yes. Look at your definition. It may not be very complicated at all. What is it about right now that you make so different from these so-called other times?
Vibrationally, it feels different.
Why?
It feels more alive. It feels more...
Yes.
It feels better.
Why?
It feels expanded.
Why? Why don't those times feel like this time? Why aren't those times this time?
Because for some reason I'm choosing not to be my full self at those other times.
Why?
It's a very good question.
Thank you. May I give you one idea or one perspective?
Please.
Maybe in the most positive way it can possibly be meant, it actually serves you to be the way you are in those times. Maybe you actually really do want and need to be not the way you are now in those times. Maybe being that way in those times, making those times be different, maybe that really is, in the overall picture of your life, what really serves you. What if that's the answer? What if it's not really that you are actually wanting, really, truly wanting to be this way in those times because you know there is something that you're getting out of those times being that way and you don't want to change it and that it's appropriate that you don't? What about that?
That's so antithetical to everything I feel in my body, everything I think in my brain. It doesn't make any sense at all. If that's an awareness, it's so deep.
Oh, I see. So what you're saying is that there is such a thing as an interruption in your joy instead of what you feel being a part of your joy, no matter how it feels. Is that what you're saying?
My mind's totally out of me here.
Well, that might be a good thing. That might be what we're after.
I have no idea what you just said.
All right. We'll go over it again. Oh, you do not have to apologize unless it gives you joy to do so. Do you want me to say I forgive you?
Yeah.
All right, I forgive you.
Thank you.
You feel better now?
Okay, yeah.
Oh, all right, thank you.
All right.
Now the question is, can you forgive yourself?
Yes.
Can you forgive yourself for letting it be all right to feel one way one time and another way another time? Is that okay? Why not? You see, there is, I'll put it in your terms, your problem. When it's not okay to not be okay, you can't be okay. When it's not okay to be not okay, you cannot be okay. Until you're okay with not being okay, you can't allow the not okay to become the okay.
Okay.
Thank you. You are focusing too much on the idea that you have to change the moment into something it is not. And that's what gets you into trouble. You have to allow the moment to be fully what it is before it can become some other experience of the same moment. You have to give it its due, and you have to allow it to be valid, whatever it is you are experiencing that moment as. Or it simply cannot become anything else other than that until you pay attention to that's what it needs to be at that moment. You have to be okay with your not okayness in order for you to really allow yourself ultimately, finally, to be okay all the time. And that is what will ultimately leak into your entire life so that you will always only feel okay. But it starts by being okay with when you're not okay. So that you can get out of the not okay what you need to get out of it.
Okay.
Well, that's one word, I suppose, but you don't even have to go that far. It can simply be one moment when you feel this or feel that, and somehow to you, for some reason, you are defining that experience as not your ideal state. But if you understand that whatever it is you're experiencing is okay, then you can allow it to become part of the integration of your whole self. That will ultimately allow you to let that become also and support also your ability to be the ideal state whenever you choose. That's the paradox. Doesn't even have to be really as deep as the shadow or the opposite. It can be anything at all that is even slightly off of what you define as some idealized idea of yourself. But it doesn't matter still. If you keep defining it as less than equal to the idealized self, then you remain firmly fixed in that energy and do not allow it to help you be the vibration of what you deem to be ideal. That's the paradox you're dealing with. Does this make some sense to you?
Yes and no.
Thank you.
Okay.
One moment. When you go to sleep this night, ask for understanding, ask for assistance from a very particular friend. All right? Just get a sense of what that means, that you would have a particular friend who has the ability to help you in your understanding of this concept as we are discussing it now. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to key into, is that you have a particular friend. You can say special friend if you want. A special friend whose particular forte is to help you in your understanding of this particular idea you are going through right now. Ask for the assistance of that particular friend. And then let go. Let go. Will you do that?
Of course.
Oh, you don't have to.
Yes, I want to. Absolutely.
All right. Will you do it without expectation?
Boy, I could say yes, but, you know.
If you do it with expectation, your special friend can't help you.
Right.
If you do it with no expectation, your special friend can help you. That is the dilemma for most of you. Is the idea that you get into your own self-created vicious cycle. All right, I'll have no expectation so that my friend can help me. No expectation is no expectation. You put out your request in gratitude to your special friend, knowing your special friend will help. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, will help. Then you flatline it. Zero it. Let it go. Forget about it. Go to sleep. Don't think about it anymore. It's gone. Never was there. let it go. That's the only way the special friend can help, but if you do that so that the special friend can help, special friend can't help. That's the paradox. That's the balance point that is required. And that balance point is the state you say you want to create every moment. This will help you do it if you'll do that. All right?
Okay. Yes. If there's a situation that is not okay with you and you go, okay, this is not okay, and you make another choice that is okay, are you not accepting the not okay situation, or are you saying, okay, the not
what we are saying is that if you understand that every situation has to do with whatever it is you are at that moment, that it is the result and combination and total reflection of whatever you are at that moment, we understand that you can have an empirical perception of it as being perhaps non-preferential. But it still must be okay that it exists.
It's not preferred, but it's fine that it exists. It's
Yes.
just not your preference, so you will make another choice so that situation does not exist.
But you don't make another choice without understanding why it's there to begin with. Because if you make a choice without understanding that, you really are not making an informed choice. You're just avoiding.
You know it's there because that's the vibration that you're at that time.
Yes, but why?
Why are you at that vibration?
Yes, that's the question.
Because you're focusing on what you don't want instead of what you do want.
Maybe.
Shall I give an example of a situation?
If you wish.
My neighborhood is very...
Except remember
yes.
that what you get is what you want.
Uh-huh.
There is no such thing really as focusing on what you don't want. You never do that.
Okay, I get it.
What you're saying is that you have defined this thing you are focusing on as what you want, even if it turns out to be destructive.
I understand.
Does that help clear it up?
That helps, but I still have another question on that.
Yes.
The neighborhood that I live in is getting intensely noisy.
Intensely noisy.
So I've got this fan that I put on white noise to block the noise out.
So you are fighting noise with noise.
Yes, I guess I'm doing that, and in the meantime, I'm changing my vibration so I will not be attracting a noisy situation, so then I can move somewhere and vibrate and then attract a quiet situation. You
Or
see what I mean?
perhaps there are any number of other things that perhaps you could do. Are you waiting for me to say such as?
Well, if you want to, or I can...
In what way is it, in your terms, noisy?
You've heard it before. The dogs go on and on and on.
Yes. And any communication taking place between you and the owners of the animal?
It's just infested with them.
Infested?
Yeah, there
Has
is
any communication taken place between you and the owners of the animal?
Yes, and
to what result?
They say, well, I'm sorry, this is how we want to live. And one of the neighbors, even went to court. Another one writes me nasty notes. And
because?
Because they don't care if their dogs are barking. It doesn't. They say no one else is complaining, but their other neighbors are upset about it.
All right.
And
then, without being judgmental,
yes,
can you not be a little bit more organizational so that they can understand the consequences of their choices?
I started doing that, and I got people involved, and then all of a sudden, I started getting really nasty letters in the mail. Okay.
So?
Okay.
Did that stop you?
I guess it stopped me.
Why? Did that surprise you?
I guess it did, yes.
Why?
I guess I just didn't want to be pushing against the problem. I thought...
Well, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are.
Mm-hmm.
Why did getting what you call nasty letters stop you? What were you afraid of?
I guess I was thinking maybe I'm the one that's wrong, and I know I'm not, because I'm not the only one that feels that way.
Then why did you stop? You can still do this in a very loving, straightforward manner. But remember, the idea of unconditional love does not mean that you lie down and let someone run over you.
I agree. They're also doing construction next door to me on one side, next door on the other side.
Well, that's a different story.
But it's still noise, and
Well, you have to look at all sides and all angles of this issue, because there may be many different things going on within your belief system structure that attracts a similar idea, but even though they may all be similar in their effect, they may all be being attracted for many different kinds of reasons. And you may have to deal with each of them on their own terms within yourself as to why they all turn out to be something similar. It may be deceiving you into thinking, just because it all has to do with noise, it may be deceiving you into thinking it's all related to the same belief system within you. It may not be. They may be representative of many different kinds of angles of beliefs within you.
Can you assist me with that? I've been working on that.
I just did. Start with one and take it further. Do it with integrity, clarity, steadfastness, with your sense of your identity intact, and allow yourself to understand and always double check to make sure in your own terms you are doing the right thing, so to speak, the integrated thing, that you're not in any way, shape, or form really being judgmental, that you're not being vicious or malicious in that sense, but that you are standing up for the idea of what you believe is balanced and fair, and proceed as best you can, and do not be dissuaded. Learn to communicate in more ways than you do. That's part of what this exercise is all about for you, to learn true communication. And so that you can also allow other individuals to experience, to give them the opportunity to experience the consequences of their choices. End of discussion.
Thank you.
At this timing, we will extend once again to each and every one of you our deepest appreciation in allowing this transmission, this link, this bridge, to have been formed. And we thank each and every one of you for your willingness and your boldness to function as representatives of your world, this day of your time. We will let you know when the neutrals have reached a decision. Until then, our unconditional love to all of you, and we thank you, and good day. How did it go? Thank you. Thank you for coming tonight, and look forward to seeing you again. Have a good week, please.